just saw a thumbnail of a dude wearing a Virginia Rock shirt.
You know who that is? You know about that shirt?
No, I just saw the thumbnail. And I just saw the shirt. It's my exposure to it.
It's a T-shirt made by this YouTuber named Danny Duncan.
Okay.
Yeah, my buddy Andy used to work for the company that printed that merch, and that dude's like really popular, and the shirts are like everywhere. It's crazy.
Well, that's a wholesome message.
Yeah, it's okay to be a virgin.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch my story that I posted today when it was Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman 2, and he told Colby told Kamaru, he's like shut up, you virgin.
He'll say that to some people, but it's usually hilarious. I don't mind Colby Covington. I think he's gonna be champ soon.
Yeah, he's. I watched, and this is weird how the algorithm will feed me stuff, but he has a really good relationship with Submission Radio. So I watched his most recent interview with Submission Radio and him speaking about his upcoming fight against Leon Edwards. And I was very excited because the last interview he did, he's just very entertaining. So it was just very refreshing to hear a new interview from Colby Covington. And I'm a huge fan, and I'm actually picking him against Leon Edwards. Surprisingly, I like Leon. He's done a good job, beating Kamaru Usman because he was on track to become the greatest welterweight ever. But obviously Leon stop that train, but I think Colby Covington is a bad style matchup for Leon Edwards.
Yeah, 1,000%. I absolutely agree with that. I think Colby's going to put more pressure on than Kamaru did.
Yeah,
100%, and especially since they try to make this matchup earlier in the year in London, and for some reason Leon Edwards turned it down, which is to me very interesting, because to get the offer to fight at home, have a big pay-per-view, and for you to want to sit out and take a break, it's a little weird, if I'm being honest. Because when you have these opportunities, right, when you're champion, right, he's been fighting so hard to get that title shot, and he was on that crazy 11 fight win streak. So for him to not want to be active and give those opportunities to other fighters, it's just really weird to me that he wouldn't want to do that for those fighters, because it wasn't given to him. I feel like if anyone could understand getting screwed out of title shots, it'd be him. But to me it's just kind of frustrating when these certain fighters become champions, and then they're like, all right, we're going to go from being a very active fighter to fighting once, maybe twice a year.
Yeah. Now, there's not many of Volkanovskis in Israel Adesanya's. Not a lot of people willing to put it all on the line.
Oh yeah. So who was he offered in London?
Colby.
So he ducked Colby in his backyard, basically.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the UFC's been trying to make this fight for a while, because they're rewarding Colby for being the backup, but yeah, for some reason he didn't want to take it, which I can understand, because it's a tough style matchup. But it's like, if you want to be remembered and be the champion, you shouldn't be afraid to fight anybody, right? Because obviously you've fought your way to be the number one person in your weight class, so obviously at that point everybody is gunning for you. So why would you want to be like this paper champion where you're ducking certain fighters?
Yeah, maybe he's kind of, you can't do it now, but maybe he was angling for the Bilal Muhammad rematch, because I would say Bilal Muhammad's pretty obviously very deserving.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't see too much of a fight between him and Leon, but I say Leon was kind of getting the better of it for how long they did fight, before the stoppage occurred,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe he just hates Kobe enough where he was just trying to deny him, you know?
But you can't deny the
I
number one.
agree.
You can't deny the number one contender. He's too good.
Especially like how you said, Leon was getting denied forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it made no sense, right? It's like, what else does someone have to do? You're on a 11 fight winning streak. You're beating everybody that they put in your way, and there's certain people getting title shots after 1-2 victories just being in the organization. So it's frustrating sometimes when there's certain fighters who are like way more than deserving of a title shot, but for some reason the UFC just doesn't want to push them, which is just very strange sometimes.
Yeah.
And especially with, they have this whole ranking system, but ever since that thing started, it's been pretty much BS from the start because it's so subjective, right? There's like this hidden, entity that votes for it. And it's just, it's obviously just a fun talking point. But when you look at the standings, it's just, it's not always one gets the title shot. It's things are always just jumping around.
Yeah. We're talking about whoever wins the co-main at middleweight's going to fight the champ.
Which, to me, right, we got these two welterweights and Khamzat and Kamaru Usman fighting each other, and talks of them getting a title shot. It's, to me, that's so bizarre.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. If Kamaru beats Khamzat, he gets a middleweight title shot.
Mm-hmm.
Just off the
Strickland. Yep.
That's pretty wacky.
Yeah, but I honestly don't think Usman stands a chance. I was having a conversation with Nate yesterday. I think
say Jeff's already like me. Like what?
Yeah,
no, I'm with you.
Okay.
I have Khamzat.
Yeah, I think Khamzat is just gonna just blaze through him. This is gonna be like, this is ideal for Khamzat, right? He's obviously they've talked about fighting before in the past when Kamaru was champ, and I felt like I always felt like Kamaru was comfortable with those talks just because Khamzat was still so far away from getting a title shot. So I felt like it wasn't like a real possibility at that point. But now that this opportunity came about and he stepped up to take the fight, I think it's really brave of him. But I don't think it's a good look because for you to get knocked out viciously and then to come back and to lose to the same person that knocked you out. I do believe sometimes it's nice to have like a tune-up fight, as much as like that's weird to say, but just to gain some confidence back. But to jump right back in against someone like Khamzat, who is so aggressive and has crazy track history, he's undefeated. It's just not, in my opinion, the best thing for him, especially since I think he's past his prime, right? Because he's long talked about how bad his knees are. And he's older, and I just don't think him, going up against this, crazy up and comer is a good look. I think Kamaru Usman loses.
Yeah, so I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit, and I'd like to point out, I think it's cool that we kind of agree on this. The one thing I'm going to push back a little bit on is I think he's at a point where he needs to take the Khamzat fight. I think taking a lesser fight, even though he wants tune-up, is probably riskier considering how he looked in the rematch versus Leon. Because if he loses the tune-up fight, then what? If he loses this, it's Khamzat. There's nothing bad about losing to Khamzat, right? So if he ends up not winning, it's short notice for one, and it's not as bad as if he lost a tune-up fight. Now, with that being said, the reasons I think he loses, I think a big part is that he got knocked out so viciously by Leon Edwards. I think a knockout like that can change a lot of people. I think the way he fought against Leon in the rematch is a reflection of that. And for the reasons you mentioned, such as the knees, his age, He had been champ for such a long time. I think, and hopefully I'm wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see something kind of similar to Tyron Woodley, where they put him in sort of a gatekeeper role against the really badass, like up and coming guys. So I would say this is his best shot, where if he wins, maybe he kind of avoids that and gets another title shot potentially. But if he loses, it's not as bad as if he lost on a fight with a full camp versus a lesser opponent.
I think Khamzat's going to win, but I don't count out Usman just because 2 fights ago, people were considering him the best middleweight in the world. So, I mean, you can't drop off that hard. And he's taken time since he didn't get knocked out against Edwards. Even though he was gun shy, he still had moments of success. He just didn't reuse his grappling how he should have as well. So it really comes down to what kind of game plan he has. Because I want to give Jeff his props because last time we did this, he was adamant that Gaethje was going to win, and he did. He beat the shit out of Poirier. And so that has that game plan.
Hey, I think that's revisionist history. I don't think he knocked out Gaethje, so I'll give you your props, but I don't think he beat the shit out of Dustin Poirier. Poirier had him hurt. You go back and watch that fight. It wasn't like a one-sided fight.
It was a good fight, but...
Yeah, but you can't frame it like Gaethje went in there and steamrolled him. He got rocked.
Yeah. It's also at altitude, so I wonder how much that played into it, too.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, I mean, they had that game plan. They saw that opening. And so what takes Usman from finding an opening against Khamzat, especially when you have a world-class team behind you? So I don't count Usman out, but I still think Khamzat's just really strong and really, I mean, this is the weight class he should be at. I think if it was welterweight, I think Usman would have a better chance just because of the weight cut. But I don't even think Khamzat could make it.
Yeah.
So I think that's I think the size advantage is really the biggest thing that Usman's going to have to worry about.
The cardio was, I honestly just...
Usman has good cardio. I wouldn't doubt. I'm not against his cardio. He's done pretty well. He's had how many 5-round fights?
At middleweight, though?
Yeah.
15 extra pounds.
Yeah, 15 extra pounds. And you're going to have a guy, because normally Usman's the guy who's pushing the pace. He's the one who's trying to dictate where the fight goes. And if Khamzat comes out like he normally does, where he pushes the pace, I feel like it's going to be a whole different experience for Kamaru Usman.
Defensive grappling. You know, he's a wrestler at heart, Usman. So,
so is Khamzat. Khamzat can grapple.
That's why they nullify each other in some sense.
Yeah, and then
even look at Burns. Look at the success Burns had, and Burns is the same size.
Well, that was a welterweight fight, so you got to think Khamzat was compromised with the giant weight cut.
Yeah, but even there's not a weight cut for Usman either. He gets to kind of cut. Not have to cut as much weight. Same with like Volkanovski coming into the main event. I think it kind of benefits them.
If we're gonna MMA math it here, and I agree, I think there is some benefit to not having to cut as much weight. I think Khamzat had such a hard time with Gilbert Burns because I don't think he respected him that much. Mm-hmm. And he went in the fight and with that kind of, from what I could see, that kind of a strategy. I think that reflected it, or a lack of a strategy. Didn't look like there was much of a game plan. He just went in there and kind of gangstered it, you know. Gotta think that he's gonna try and game plan a little bit, even though it's kind of short notice against Usman. But that with grappling being one of his strong suits, that if in the event that it does nullify itself out, he has an even bigger advantage just on the feet.
Yeah, and you got to remember too, when he fought Gilbert, that was like his first, high level opponent, because the people he was fighting before that on the come up, it was people that they thought would be a good matchup, not as well known, people that were on the come up too. So yeah. I feel like we can't forget about that as well.
And when Gilbert and Usman fought, Burns, he sat Usman down in round one.
Yeah, he rocked him.
Close to finishing though.
Yeah. Usman's good.
I like this fight so much better than Costa.
No, really.
I think it's a way sicker fight. I think he would have rolled.
Yeah, I don't think Costa has a chance.
Yeah, I think he smokes Costa.
You guys are
I think
crazy.
people think more highly of Costa than he is.
Yeah, I think he would whoop Costa's ass.
I think you guys are crazy. Costa is so good. Just because
he's all right.
look at his
He
record.
only-
Look at his record.
Yeah, it's against taxi drivers.
Dude, are you crazy? Okay, now, okay, I'm gonna pull
Against
up.
steak restaurant.
I didn't
owners.
know you fucking drinking the secret juice over here. Look at this fool. Fucking,
Against-
when'd you come across the bandwagoner?
Dude, he's been good. He's had 2 losses.
Oh yeah, when he got humped by Israel Adesanya.
He's had
fucking good then too.
yeah.
Sweet
Good.
piece of ass.
Okay,
He's good for sure, but I don't know, man. I think Hamza. I mean, I'd love to see the fight at some point, but I think this is a more competitive matchup than Costa Hamza.
okay, all right, okay. Hold on. I want to backtrack to Nate's comment. Taxi drivers, right? Luke Rockhold, former champion, not a taxi
That guy was
driver.
washed.
Not a taxi driver. Okay, it's
When he fought him, he was washed.
former champ. Yoel Romero was that a taxi driver? No,
Kinda.
no.
Shit.
That was your Yoel Romero in his prime when he was out there. They both
When he was going
okay. Uriah Hall, taxi driver.
yeah, he probably is driving a taxi now.
You're crazy. Johnny Hendricks, the former champion. That's another former
Steroid
champion.
user. Yeah.
See.
That was
Those-
sketchy,
see,
Johnny Hendricks. So.
Those are not taxi drivers. These are people who had great accomplishments in the organization. You're just a hater.
Oh my god.
Straight
I
up,
just,
those
being
are
the
those are
opposite of
household
you.
names. You can't call former champions taxi
Okay, everyone beat
drivers.
Jimi Hendrix. Look at his record. See how many fucking random names are on there.
This is a
They
former
were
champion.
Look at all like his
Low-key,
last
I think he
record.
beat I think he beat GSP when they fought, but that's neither here nor there. That was pre-USADA, right?
Yeah,
Mhm. So,
which isn't even a thing now.
well, it is till the end of the year. See, I'm not liking your statements tonight.
They asked him to apologize. And so
Good.
he's like, UFC told him send him a legal letter telling him to apologize and retract what they said.
I would say it's been fuck USADA, right?
Yeah.
I like the. Are we going to transition to this right now, or is there more you want to?
No, yeah, we can transition that.
Yeah,
Pretty
but I'm just
big.
gonna make clear he's not fighting taxi drivers as a BS statement.
This fucking dude, he pulled out. He got that.
He didn't.
Fucking,
He has
didn't
staff.
have to do that. He didn't have to do it. He got a surgery. He elected to do that surgery.
He
knew
has
was hurt
staff.
going into it.
He had staph infection. You could lose your arm.
Yeah, I don't think Costa was ducking nobody. I think.
Yeah, that was a legit thing. He had, the UFC was following him closely. It wasn't just some random, oh, I hurt my pinky, I can't fight. It's like he had legit staph infection.
He didn't even report it to them until after.
No, they paid for the surgery.
Dude, Costa hurt you, huh?
Yeah, no, I don't care. I'm just
Yeah,
fucking being
you're-
devil's advocate.
That's not
Yeah.
devil's advocate. You're just being a hater.
I like Hater Nate though. That's kind of cool.
I'm not liking it because
I don't know.
you're trying to paint this narrative of things that aren't true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just being honest.
Everyone's
Look at the
got
facts.
opinions.
Look at the
I'm
facts.
sorry, you want to hold Costa's purse a little longer?
No, you can't say that these former champions are taxi drivers. I get it
No,
if they're
man.
unknown names, if they have salty records, but these are great fighters that he's beating. It's true.
Yep, they're still around today.
Yeah. Costa sent Luke Rockhold out of the UFC. Uriah Hall's still around.
No, he retired.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Uriah Hall's out. But I loved. Okay, so if we're talking Costa, that fight with Yoel Romero was fucking badass.
Yeah.
That was a really good fight for sure. I think if we're gonna cite him fighting Hendricks, that's kind of a dicey one, just because Hendricks was in just like awful shape for that fight. It was post USADA,
Mhm.
and was at like peak owning a steakhouse Hendricks and like not really caring about fighting, as far as I could tell, But other than that, both you guys make points, but I'm gonna agree with Jamie a little bit and say that he has fought some good competition. Even if they're older, they're quality fighters.
It's not easy in the UFC, especially when you're in the top 10.
Yeah, no. Look at that new kid, Ruiz. You know, he got offered that, got that loss, but he rebounded pretty well too. But did you see they already announced the replacement for USADA, who they're gonna get?
No, are they going Vada?
No,
No.
they had a big press conference earlier because they're trying to put out the fire that USADA started yesterday.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you got to think that, and I like that you guys said that. I mean, I was joking in our chat about there not being any regulation or whatever, but I can't imagine that UFC would have just left it up to commissions. You got to think that aside from how USADA was like borderline harassing these fighters and like ruining careers like Lawler, you got to think that they were going to go with another like good regulatory body to maintain that type of a standard, right?
Yeah. Well,
who'd they go with?
They went with it's hold on, let's pull it up. The Drug Free Sport International, DFSI. They're I guess they've been around for like 20 years. Like they've done testing. I don't know who specifically they've done testing for or what, but yeah. I guess yeah, Hunter Campbell, you know, represents UFC as kind of like the CFO. He was saying that USADA might be legally liable for what they did against Conor McGregor. So I'm kind of curious what he meant by that, because that was part of the press conference too.
So that whole thing kind of confused me. Well, in terms of USADA, because obviously in the past year or whatever, Conor had like that catastrophic injury, and like who knows what he's been doing just to be able to like, not even in terms of like being an athlete, but just like heal your leg proper. So I can't really speak on that because he jumped out of the pool, you know, as has been discussed. But isn't he like famously been tested over and over and over again and like always passed? Like he's never been somebody that's ever dodged USADA or like been even like looked at in terms of steroids. Like he's always been clean. So it's kind of weird that they would kind of jab at him like that, right? It felt almost kind of petty.
No, I think what they were alluding to is that the UFC wanted special treatment for Conor, just like how, you know, they got with Brock Lesnar. Because remember when Brock Lesnar came back to fight Mark Hunt, he got a special exemption. So I think they were trying to allude that they wanted to have Conor get a special exemption to fight earlier than the 6 months.
I think the only problem with that is they said there was paperwork showing that in August that Conor said he was going to fight in December, and that's what they were insinuating, that he was going to fight in December, when Conor, they just said he was talking shit just to kind of, you know, bring people talking about him.
I feel
like they said in internal discussions that Conor was never going to be on the December card. So I don't know, but that's the UFC's word. I don't know what, you know, you saw that if they have emails and things, you know, correspondence back and forth. I mean, they can easily prove that's not the case, but UFC has been coming pretty heavy at them. So
I would struggle with believing that narrative that USADA's saying, strictly because of everything the UFC went through with Mark Hunt. Yeah. Like just that barely got like resolved or whatever, and had got so much in like lawyer fees, and it's just opened a whole can of worms. You would imagine they would try and prevent that sort of thing.
I don't think so. You know, if they wanted a certain outcome, I think they would try to get special treatment, because Brock fought and he wasn't clean.
But Conor McGregor has like been outspoken, like clean athlete. Like go back, he like
clean before he left the pool. You know, there's a reason why he left the pool. Because there's tons of fighters who get injured who aren't fighting but stay in the pool. He left the pool for a very specific reason, which I don't fault him for.
So recovering from a catastrophic injury, you don't think that McGregor himself would want to go the full 6 months to guarantee a proper recovery, especially when money's not even an issue?
Well, I don't think it's the money is the issue for him. I think it's the organization. They're trying to maximize their profits with Conor, and they have this and this is just my theory, right? So this is nothing
that's interesting.
This is nothing that's been proven yet, but the way I look at it is, this pending UFC 300 is right around the corner, right? And imagine if you have the biggest star in the entire sport on that card, how much more money you would make from it. And if you look at him, joining the pool, that doesn't work with their timeline, right? He's going to be back after 300, and I don't know if they, if they wanted to do it. They totally could do it without him, right? They have plenty of other superstars, but if they were able to have all those superstars plus Conor McGregor.
Yeah, for sure. I think again, I can't speak for nobody, and none of us actually know the extent of his recovery and his health right now, other than Conor talking shit on Twitter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, a Conor McGregor card, even if it's after UFC 300, say early first quarter 2024, is going to be comparable to UFC 300. And you have to consider that every other person who's had the same injury he had, if they fought again, they're a shadow of themselves. And he's like the golden goose of the UFC still. So you would figure they would want to preserve it rather than risking that for the sake of making an event with the number 300 in it that much better when it's probably going to be really good anyway. But I might be overthinking it.
I don't think it's worth the trouble because, right, Conor is a star, but like you said, nobody's come back from that injury, and I don't think he should come back. I've always said, hey, you should just sit out because it's never a good thing when your leg snaps like that, and even with the more recent return of Chris Weidman, right?
Dude, that was brutal, man.
Yeah, it was sad, but
he kept leg kicking him.
Yeah, props to Brad Tavares, a super tough, really good fighter, but it's like Chris Weidman, it's dude, just hang it up, man.
So I happen to think, even obviously Michael Chandler, incredibly entertaining, badass fighter. I think within the lightweight division and with how the rankings are, that's the most favorable matchup you could give McGregor because historically he just smokes right-handed wrestlers besides Khabib, right? And Chandler's been put down before. He's pretty tough, but you can touch him. You can touch him up a little bit and he'll go down historically. So I think it's not that bad of a matchup versus Chandler. And I think the UFC knows that. And I don't know why they would try and rush it and push that for 300. You know what I mean? Well, I know the reasons you outlined for sure. There's money to be made. It's a historic card for sure. But I think Conor is in his own class in that kind of a way. And you'd want to protect that and try to have him fight more than once,
But you also got to think too, right? That whole fight came about because of The Ultimate Fighter, and typically, the coaches fight, around the time of the finale. There's been instances where it's taken a little longer, but nothing to the extent of what's going on with Conor. I just think, I'm a huge fan of Conor, right? I was there from when he entered the UFC to now, but to me, it's clear as day that the division is past him, right? And who knows, he might not even fight lightweight. They might do that fight at 170, and it's just it doesn't stand a chance in lightweight, and it doesn't get easier at welterweight. So it's just for me, especially after the way he got knocked out against Poirier, the way he broke his leg against Poirier, because even that fight he was losing. I just don't think he should continue fighting just because he has a great legacy. And it's just one of those things where I don't want to see another fighter stick around longer than they should, because we're kind of teetering on the edge where he's going to have a crazy losing streak. And granted, it is against top competition, but it's just the way that he is losing. It's not like it's these close decisions. He's getting washed, and it's just, I think he should just hang it up.
You think he beats Chandler?
No. Chandler's is I think way more tools, and it's just Connor's biggest weakness is his grappling. So when I look at someone like Chandler, where I feel like his wrestling is just as good as his striking, and if he were to choose to lean on his wrestling against Conor McGregor, I feel like it would just be, it's crazy in the sense that I think it'd be an easy night for Michael Chandler because he doesn't have to get in those firefights. Obviously, he did with like Gaethje to be very entertaining, and granted, I'm sure he'd want to knock out Conor too, but I feel like he would whoop Conor.
Yeah, I can.
You just gotta hope Chandler stays actually grappling and doesn't, get in those firefights, because that's one thing if you draw him in, kind of sits there and stands there to take a hit. So as long as he sticks to the game plan, which it sounds like he values a win over Conor more than being entertaining from whenever he's talked about the fight. So I assume he's going to go into it smart, but sometimes the heat of the moment's a little different, but I still think he would have the tools to beat Conor pretty easily.
Yeah, and in terms, I think he's more durable than Conor too.
Yeah, he's taken some pretty nasty hits and still kind of stood up.
Yeah,
but you wouldn't even entertain him fighting Diaz coming back, because I feel like Diaz is about the same, kind of on the way out too.
Diaz isn't even in the organization. I don't think. I'd be surprised if Diaz came back to MMA, because dude, he's older. It sucks that he went to boxing and lost. I'd be okay with my last memory of him in MMA was against Tony Ferguson, because I would be surprised to see if Conor does another one after this next fight, just because of everything that's going on for as long as it's taking. And that'd be, I think it's just too far away to even want to talk about it. And I don't even know if Diaz would want to come back to the UFC. I don't know if UFC would even want to sign him for more or to just a one fight deal, because I don't know if Diaz would want to just come back and sign like like their standard 6-fight contract or whatever.
You know what I think would make a lot of sense if Conor does more than one fight, like regardless if he loses to Chandler or beats him, match him up with Paddy Pimblett, regardless if Pimblett beats Ferguson or not.
What are you talking about? They're not even the same weight class.
Conor and Pimblett, they're both 155ers.
Conor's not fighting 155. He's welterweight now.
Yeah, okay. No, I know what you're saying. I'd like to see Conor go out on a W if he could, and I think he just beats the shit out of Pimblett if they fight. It would be huge.
I hate Paddy Pimblett. I don't want to give him anything.
Dude, I want Ferguson to beat him so bad, and I wish Ferguson stopped fighting like 4 fights ago.
Yeah, his fight against Bobby Green was really sad.
Speaking of Bobby Green, he had that great KO too against Dawson.
That shit was sick with it.
Yeah, I'm
still incredible.
Still surprised that he was the underdog and some people were counting him out.
No, he's definitely.
I didn't quite understand like the odds going into it, but it was nice to see him put a stamp on it though. That was awesome.
Yeah, but for Bobby Green, he needs to keep it together, right? Because it seems like it's just up and down. But granted, he's like his stumble against Islam, but that was a short notice fight. But he's really talented, but he just needs to be able to string together some wins.
Yeah.
But going back to USADA, I'm not sure who's telling the truth, right? Because the truth is in there somewhere. Because I read USADA statements, then I watched the press conference today with Hunter Campbell and Jeff Nowitzki, and they mentioned how they spoke to Andy Foster, who's like the head of the California State Athletic Commission, who's someone that has been very progressive, with running the sport. That's someone who I'm like very interested in. So to hear them speak about how he was very happy that they announced that they weren't going to continue that partnership with USADA, that was just something that I never heard before, and I was very surprised to hear them bring up his negative comments about USADA, because I felt like USADA was like a necessary, like, like evil, I guess, if that's fair to say, because like want a clean sport, but when you kind of with certain situations where like someone like Josh Barnett, who had like a tainted supplement, like legitimately tainted supplement, but there's like, nah fam, like we're gonna suspend you for years, we're gonna just fuck up your career, like situations like that. It just
Tom Lawler.
Yeah, Tom Lawler. It's just
Jesus Christ, bro. See, I to me it's fuck USADA. Like I don't like USADA at all for those two reasons. Like once stuff like that starts happening, to me they're doing more harm than good.
Yeah, but even remember they're trying to suspend, was it Nick Diaz for like 2 years because he failed his like his whereabouts reporting. It's just like, come on, like.
Oh, is that the time where? Or are you talking when Nate Diaz got them to apologize?
Yeah, I can't remember which Diaz it was. Which Diaz it was. It was one of them. But yeah,
Diaz spoke out against him, and USADA like made a statement apologizing about it and retracted it.
Yeah, and you hear stories about them showing up to fighters' houses to test them like the morning of a title fight at like 6 a.m. It's like, geez.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think you could. I think for, I don't know, like maybe other sports, sure, but I think fighting's its own unique thing, and I don't think USADA, for various reasons, was that good of a fit.
Yeah, because there's so many issues, and it just seems like, based off what Hunter and Jeff Nowitzki was saying today, was that they were trying to run their own program and not really like wanting to have conversations with the UFC. They were just trying to show up and be like, yo, like this is how it is, and not wanting to have a conversation, which is why there was tons of issues and so much miscommunication, because even in the early days of USADA, I don't know if you remember, but they used to report right away when someone failed a drug test, and not even given the chance to be proven innocent or not. It's like, there are mistakes, there are tainted supplements, and granted there are situations where fighters claim their supplements were tainted and they weren't. But back in the day, they used to, remember with the Yoel Romero, remember he got popped, and there was like that crazy $20 million lawsuit, and then he
got a fat ass bag from that though.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that was the case where they're like, all right, we can't like preemptively like throw these fighters under the bus, which I think is fair, right? Because there's just too many instances where these innocent fighters were getting their name tarnished. Because once your name gets tied to PEDs, it's hard to get it removed.
You're severely screwing with people's livelihoods, especially considering MMA fighters as a whole are largely underpaid. So if you factor 90%, 95% of people in the UFC, stuff like that follows them is just ultra damaging, possibly career ending. You know what I mean? Especially if it ends up being wrong. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's terrible. So I'm happy that they went through the experience with USADA, right? Because there was some positive, right? There was tons of fighters who, we've had like, we saw so many physique like changes, and people like TJ Dillashaw get busted. So I'm happy that they were around, but I'm happy that the UFC, Jeff Nowitzki, they have a plan to have a better program and to work with more advanced people in the field and have more modern technology in use to help the program and help the fighters.
Yeah, so I'm obviously for clean fighting. You know what I mean? Maintaining a clean sport, like use Michael Bisping, for instance, against Vitor Belfort. How Vitor Belfort was just kicking people's heads off and he blinded them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys ever watch or follow Morning Combat or Luke Thomas?
No.
Okay, so he did, and I listened to most of it, and he did a pretty good piece, and I'm going to credit him for it because he brought up a point. I would like to know if they ever tracked the amount of injuries under USADA versus injuries not with USADA, and if USADA actually, in a quantifiable way, prevented unnecessary injuries and actually increased fighter safety. Like, can you actually quantify it with data? Did they actually do anything? And how does that factor against all the shittiness they put fighters through?
Like,
it's a good question, right?
What kind of shittiness? I'm kind of confused.
Oh, like how they would show up on people's doorsteps at 6 a.m. the day of a title fight. How through a couple instances we talked about how they ruined people's careers. You know what I mean? Like some of their missteps. And I would even say overstepping.
Yeah.
Like, did they actually increase fighter safety?
Yeah. I think they want independent testing because it's the first thing Dana White said too. He's like, it's not going to be in house. Like, we're still going to have like a party, like someone representing like that. But I think they just wanted a better partner. Because I think with them, like USADA doing that announcement and stuff, they were kind of like just kind of proven right. Like, these people aren't working with us. They're not, addressing the problems. And so finding a partner, because it's not like they just found some new company. Like I said, the company's been around for 2 decades. I don't know exactly what they were involved with, but maybe they were more like, we'll work hand in hand to make sure we do the proper testing, the things that you need, and not, jump the gun. Because even John Jones did a comment about how like technically picograms are allowed now under USADA when he got his title pulled, because of the picograms, but now they're, under USADA, they're fine. So he's like, why is that the case? Why?
I didn't even think of that. Yeah. So technology has even changed a little bit since then, or possibly even drastically. Yeah, that's a good perspective. I didn't even think about the picograms thing.
I don't want to hear from John Jones. I don't want to hear from any of these, people who got popped.
He swears he's never cheated in his life.
That he's cheated. 100% he's cheated. That story that Chael Sonnen famously told about how he hid under the ring for 8 hours and Jackson Wink to hide from USADA because he didn't want to get popped. And his picograms.
Yeah,
he's a cheater.
But it is weird for them to allow it after, though.
Well, yeah, they're probably like, hey, like, we don't want another debacle like John Jones. Like, let's just let this slide.
It was gas station boner pills, dude. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rhino pills.
Rhino.
It's just, this is crazy. But I'm very curious. But it is sad too, right? You got to think. They have not even given the fighters an opportunity to have any say in these types of programs. It's just like, hey, like, USADA was such a misstep. Like, why didn't they reach out to the fighters and be like, hey, like, we're, our contract is up in December with USADA, January 1, 2024, we're going to do this new program. You think that they would have reached out to the fighters in the company and been like, hey, like what can we do to make this experience better for all of you? And granted, like, they are doing things to try to make it better for the fighters, but how much input did the fighters really have in this new program?
Yeah.
Fair point.
I guess not a lot of information about it yet. So I guess maybe when they actually have like a conference about the new, like at least a press release with who is, the new company and, et cetera, what they're going to services they provide and see how the people react. I guess that's going to be the only.
Yeah, but everything's already set in place. Jeff Nowitzki said the guy's name. I forgot his name was like George something. He's been around. He was, he was praising him for working with, and capturing Saddam Hussein. I'm like, what does this have to do with the UFC? I don't want to hear about this bullshit. But I don't know. I feel like, in the UFC, it's always UFC first and then the fighters. That's like, I think that's my biggest gripe with the UFC. Like, I love the UFC, but it's always been, the 3 letters before the fighters. And, you gotta think what this is like celebrating 30 years and, fighters aren't the priority. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. UFC's kind of a dick.
Yeah, because even Jeff, you mentioned earlier, like like majority of the fighters are underpaid. I think all fighters are underpaid because even if you look at how much money Conor McGregor makes and how much money he's generating, he's getting paid a lot. He's getting paid a lot more than the entire roster. But someone like him should be making way more money. So it's pretty wild.
Your background had the arms go like that right in the perfect timing when you made the point about him having to make more money. Expertly timed, even.
That's wild. I got to watch a replay.
That was sick. That was epic.
Yeah, but I'm hoping things get better. Obviously, there hasn't been any big fighters that have got popped recently. Obviously, there's been fighters with lesser names getting popped here and there, but I'm hoping that's like an ongoing trend where these more fighters are fighting clean. Obviously, there's obviously the technology with cheating always gets better. Because if you look at, like I said, I'm not picking on TJ Dillashaw, but for someone like him to be able to cheated for so long without getting caught is crazy.
Yeah, and that could have been problems with how USADA did things and them understanding how to get around their program.
100%.
Yeah. But hey, we got a pretty good card though. Abu Dhabi, the return.
I don't think the card's that good, if I'm being honest. I feel like it's really top heavy.
Yeah, definitely. The pay-per-view has. I'm glad to see Ankalaev back. That's a pretty good fight against Walker. Although I think he's just gonna beat the hell out of Walker. But
yeah, that's maybe a really good fight. But where does that put them? Because obviously there's a vacant title up for grabs, which. Once again, when you look at how Jamal Hill was kind of forced to vacate his title when he didn't have to, I was like, oh, okay, the UFC put pressure on him, which is kind of whack. But I'm fine with it. I didn't really like Jamal Hill as champion, anyways.
Yeah, it's weird that Ankalaev didn't get the shot because it's going to be Alex versus Jiri for the title.
Yeah, makes zero sense.
This should have been whoever was going to fight Jiri, whoever won this fight, versus Ankalaev or Walker. That would have made more sense because if Walker beats Ankalaev, which is probably not going to happen, but then no one's beating that dude. Not even close, so I'd say throw him to the top, but Alex, he won against Jan barely, but he's getting a title shot.
Yeah, some could argue that he lost that fight.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, I thought Jan won.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Jan's in these fights, and they're just too close, right? He had the draw, and then...
It felt like it was Jan's fault. I think he took his foot off the gas a little bit and felt like he was more ahead than what the judges thought he was, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
He would have put more pressure in the last round, which is a big ask because he was just gassing super hard. It would have been hard for him to do that, He would have pulled it out for sure. But I think his lack of cardio kind of got in the way.
So with this card, is there any fight in the prelim that you guys think stands out, or no?
In the prelims, nothing. Let me just see. I'm trying to think.
I think the only one is they've been pushing him a lot is the Muhammad Mokaev. That guy is pretty talented at flyweight. It'd be interesting to see how he does against Tim Elliott, a veteran.
Yeah.
But I think it's an easy fight for Muhammad, to be honest. But because he's a very grappling. I mean, you've seen his performance against a lot of the people he's come across. He's just kind of like a baby Khamzat in a sense.
I'm just not a fan of that division anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of been weird with the title fights kind of being the same title fight for the past 4 times. I mean, now it's kind of changing up with Royval getting a shot against Pantoja, which will hopefully maybe sets the flyweight division to start being a little more competitive and interesting again, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm okay without it. I feel like
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. A lot of the people on the undercard, I'm not even familiar with.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them you could tell are, for the region
Yeah,
specifically.
it looks like it's kind of a showcase. It's like a regional showcase kind of deal.
Yeah, because even the
Even name
pay-per-view,
card.
yeah, like the
Mhm.
two, like Syed, and then they got Warley. Alves is probably, the only one from that, but they're, want Ikram to beat him 100%, like they're pretty much setting everyone for the people in Abu Dhabi to win, from that region, from what I could see from this card. The only one that you can maybe say would probably be closest is the Volkanovski and Islam because of just how competitive that match was initially.
Yeah, I'm
I
really
love
curious.
that fight again.
I'm curious to see how it's gonna go. I kind of wish it was under different circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't like that. It's on such short notice, and I don't know if you watched. Volkanovski put out a video said that he has been training, but you got to think he's like fresh off surgery for his hand. Who knows the condition of his hand? But he's in a win-win situation, right? No matter the outcome of the fight, he's not really losing anything.
Yeah, but you think he loses the trilogy if he loses? Like he won't have an opportunity for that if he loses here.
No, I feel like if he loses again, I think it's just time to just focus on featherweight and kind of leave lightweight alone.
I think he wins. And the reason I think he wins is because in fight number 1, I felt like he didn't trust his grappling that much in kind of the earlier rounds. And I think between that fight and now, he'll certainly have made adjustments by then. And I'm not sure that with Islam's style that he can make adjustments versus Volkanovski. And I think Volkanovski had more room to make adjustments versus Islam because Volkanovski, his style is a little less one-dimensional than Islam's. So I like his chances better.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think too that Islam hasn't fought since they last fought. Like his
oh shit, that's true, huh?
Yeah, his 2 title defenses are against featherweights.
Yeah, I guess I just think that with how the last fight went, it's going to be harder for Islam to improve his grappling, right? To have a different effect on Volkanovski than it is for Volkanovski just to make some minor adjustments and then just light his ass up on the feet, knowing that he can hang in the grappling department.
Yeah, I feel like even Volkanovski walking away from that first fight, he has way more confidence in his abilities to fight the champion at the weight class above.
In his cardio.
Yeah.
Like he totally held up. I mean,
yeah, he didn't get outshined at all during any of those exchanges. Like, if anything, he was making Islam look bad because, if anything, everyone thought Volkanovski was too small to fight Islam.
Yep.
Islam cuts a lot of weight.
I felt like he looked perfectly strong against him in the fight 1. And I think just in the beginning rounds, he was way more hesitant, like on the feet, and wasn't really letting himself go because didn't know what to expect with the grappling. Now he's dealt with it. Yeah. And now there isn't that unexpected nature of having to face Islam. Like, he knows exactly what it feels like, and he can make adjustments based off that. And he comes to a team that famously makes really good adjustments in rematches.
Yeah, I pick him to win because obviously, just like everybody, I thought he won the first fight, so I'm definitely picking Volkanovski to win again.
I actually had Islam win. My heart wanted Volkanovski to win, but I had Islam winning just upon the initial viewing of that fight. But I think he wins fight 2.
Volkanovski?
Volkanovski. And I think if he was able to make the proper adjustments, that it doesn't even look that hard.
Yeah, I guess it really comes down to if Islam's gonna want to stand with him or just straight shoot on him. You know what I mean? Like, if he's gonna be like, I'm gonna wear him out from the beginning and
Dude,
try to like. I mean, that's the only thing I could see Islam changing, to be like, I'm just gonna take this guy down immediately. I'm not gonna entertain this stand up with him at all.
I don't think he wants to stand with him.
No.
Like, I think, in fact, I think Volkanovski is at his strongest at fighting stand up. Like, he's amazing at it.
Yeah, I think he could catch him if they stay standing.
And
I think he's fought. I mean, he has 25 minutes of footage to look at of, you know, his fight style, his, you know, abilities against Islam's, and I think he can see the improvements, because I mean 25 minutes of footage is pretty damn good, and especially when you're already successful in those, you know, for the majority of it, all you gotta do is build off of it. So and they have a good team, so hopefully he can. But the only problem is the short notice aspect of it. I think if he had the full camp, it would be like almost guaranteed.
I think the short notice favors him. And I think that his defensive grappling and submission defense is so fucking solid. Like, it's different kind of scenario. But if Ortega couldn't submit him, having a mounted guillotine, not even like arm in, like, dude, what's Islam gonna catch him with?
Nothing. It's, you know,
yeah, like
Volkanovski's training with Craig Jones. So.
Yeah, I just don't see it, man. Exactly, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those rematches that we probably didn't think we were going to get anytime soon, so it's cool to see. I really hope Volkanovski can do it, because I think he's like one of the best, if not the best, current fighter in the world.
Yeah, so. I'm down for Volkanovski to win. And think of the cool ass fights that he'll get at lightweight. Like, imagine like Oliveira, Volkanovski. That fight seems like it would be so badass. Like, it seems like there's a lot of cool matchups for him.
There is, but this is where I'm not a fan of champs, because one division always gets screwed. And in the history of champs, it's just kind of, I feel like, more just like kind of like a waste of time, because if you look at the history, everyone besides Amanda Nunes, but even like one of her belts, like the division was basically non-existent. So I just like it's a cool thing to have on your resume, but when I step back and look at it, it's just like, you know, it just sucks, because one division always gets screwed and things get jammed up. And I like things when they're running smoothly and we're not having to hold up a whole division because, you know, the champion's doing something outside of the division.
I agree with that. I think Volkanovski's so active, though, that he would be decisive and probably just choose division, maybe the heavier division. I think aside from Ilia Topuria, he's basically cleared out 145. Like, I mean, I don't know if I want to see him fight Holloway a fourth time. You know what I mean? And I would say beat Topuria even after you beat Islam, and then just vacate, go to 55. And you could do that inside of a year.
Yeah. I think it should be a transition whenever they do the double champ things, where it's like, all right, I'm leaving my division. You know, I think that's why backwards wouldn't necessarily work for most people, but going up, you know, he can bulk up, things like that. But
that's another thing.
I think 45 is still his best division overall. Yeah, I think he's just perfect because of his size and everything. I think he's just built for that one. I think lightweight he's gonna run into a lot of big fucking people. And that's really going to come down to, like, you know, when you run into the Poiriers and the Gaethje, like, the strength, you know?
Dude, I want to see it. I think he's just so dominant at 45. I mean, yes, you got Ilia Topuria, but other than that, I can't think of anybody who's got anything for him.
But whose fault is that?
That's nobody's fault. He's just that good. I would like to see if he beats Topuria. Even if he doesn't beat Islam, I wouldn't mind seeing him clear out 145 and then focus on 55. I think him at 55 is so exciting.
It's exciting, but when I kind of take a step back and look at like terms of like legacy, it's like, is it worth sacrificing that to go and catch these losses? Because I
don't think he loses to many people at 55.
There's fun fights, but I just think, you know, when you look at the history, there's not too many people that have had success in changing weight classes.
For sure, I agree, but there's not a lot of Volkanovskis. You wouldn't want to see like Fiziev versus Volkanovski, Gamrot Volkanovski, Gaethje Volkanovski. Those are all sick fights.
Yeah, but they're all beating up on a smaller man. I think we lost Jeff.
Unbelievably skilled. I think right here. Who said beating up a smaller man?
Yeah.
And I was going to counter who happens to be unbelievably skilled, strong, and that's almost the point of it because he's so dominant at 45.
I would like for him to stick at 45.
I just want to see him keep fighting regardless because he's the man, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'd be happy at 45, but I just think there's crazy fights for him and a lot of question marks at 55. But you don't want to tarnish the legacy, you know?
Yeah, because and also it's like, how do you balance two belts? Because there's going to be some fatigue at some point. He, as active and as willing as he is, can't be fighting that often because your body's going to need time to heal, and at some point he's going to have to turn down fights or take a break to heal, or maybe he's going to push it, get hurt, and then, you know, there goes his career. He could sustain some injury. So it's just like, I like the pace that he's going with his one belt.
No, I mean, look at Holloway, for example.
He's active anyway.
Holloway was like, everyone was like, oh shit, he's gonna go up to 55 and do amazingly.
Yeah.
Didn't win the belt, didn't even look that good in 55. He kind of got pieced up.
Poirier said, hell no.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, what happens when you got someone so great like Volkanovski at 45 and then goes up and gets outclassed?
You think he gets pieced up at 45?
At 55.
Or excuse me, at 55? You think someone goes up there and just whoops his ass?
Might be. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. There's definitely people like Poirier who are really good boxers, really big, lengthy guys that use their distance and get.
But that would mean they would do that to Islam, though.
Yeah. But Islam's more grapple heavy, too. You know, he's going to fucking go reach straight for the leg when he gets hurt or something like that.
Dude, just the fact that we can even have this type of a conversation about him means he's special.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's not that I don't think he can do it. I think it's just, he's just so fucking good at 45 that it's like, why risk it? And they're bringing in new people all the time, you know? Like Ilya kind of came, you know, on the scene like 2 years ago, and like look at at the point that he got now, you know.
I think Ilya is the only person in that division currently who has anything for Volkanovski, and
he's really strong.
Yeah,
he's fucking really good too. Those combos he throws are pretty nasty.
Yeah, he brutalized Bryce Mitchell, man. God damn. But I still favor Volkanovski in that fight.
Yeah, got the champ advantage too, and I think he just wouldn't have the game plan because, I mean, he can have the strength, but you know, can outclass him, outsmart him. That's what really matters in the end.
Yeah, I would just like him to stay and solidify that he's the GOAT. Because when you look at these newer champions, they're bouncing around and they're not really being held to these like GOAT standards, right? Because when you think back to someone like GSP, who I always say did it right, like fought welterweight, was willing to do a super fight against Anderson Silva at 185, never happened, and he was even willing to do a super fight at 155, but UFC allegedly, the word is UFC didn't want to risk Khabib's record against GSP, so they cut that one down because both fighters wanted it, but UFC didn't want it to happen.
You got to think Khabib wins that fight.
Hell no, you're crazy.
Think GSP would have beat Khabib like that?
Hell yeah. Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. I think Khabib would have beat him. I don't think it would have been easy, but I think age plays a huge factor in that. And I'm not convinced that GSP's wrestling can hold up against Khabib's.
Dude, Canadian wrestling is way better than Dagestani wrestling.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, that's one of those miss on fights. Like it's like, should have happened, could have happened, never happened.
I wanted that way more than Woodley GSP, because I remember Woodley was angling to fight GSP there for a minute. I wanted to see Khabib fight GSP way more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as special as Volkanovski is, it's just like, yeah, cement your legacy. Because obviously at this point, right, he's beaten so many people at 145. But it's not his fault that there's no one that can hang, you know.
Yeah, I guess I just think at 45, his legacy's cemented already. And that he could walk away as probably the goated 145 pounder.
Yeah.
And, you know, that legacy's preserved. And then you go have some fun at 55. But maybe he wants to like stick around at 45 and like really break records with consecutive defenses and stuff like that. I think right now he's the person that could have a shot at like matching Demetrius Johnson eventually, with how busy he is and how dominant he is at 45. So that would be kind of cool to see too.
Yeah, because since his reign, right, we haven't really seen any like chinks in his armor. He looks unstoppable.
Yeah, I think the only chinks we've seen were, I mean, I guess versus Islam, but that doesn't even count.
Yeah, because that wasn't at featherweight.
Yeah, but versus Ortega, and that's in a fight where he beat the living shit out of Ortega overall. He just happened to get caught in a couple unexpected submissions and then still got out. So even then,
I always thought Ortega was overrated.
I think he's properly rated. I think Volkanovski and Holloway like for sure exposed him, but I think he was properly rated.
So if Volkanovski wins, who do you want to see him defend the belt against at 55?
Nobody. Vacate the belt.
If he wins against Islam, I want him to defend against Ilia Topuria at 45.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of like decide what you want to do. But say in a fantasy world, that type of thing doesn't exist. I would want to see like Dariush versus Volkanovski, even though it's kind of tough with Dariush, I guess, like coming off I think he's coming off a loss, right?
Yeah.
That would be kind of difficult, but Volkanovski versus anybody in the top 7, top 10, I think would be super fun.
You know,
Volkanovski would be crazy.
They offered the Islam fight to Gaethje, but Gaethje turned it down because he couldn't make weight.
I'll be honest. I like Volkanovski's chances against Islam a little better than Gaethje's, and I say that as a fan of Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, because saw what happened with Khabib. It kind of go the same route unless he can keep it standing. I don't think Islam is good as Khabib, but it's pretty damn close.
Everybody says he's better, but
I disagree with that.
I told him fucking King Kong. He said he'd take on King Kong.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, for sure Khabib's better. When have you ever, for one, Islam's been knocked out? Like that in itself, even though it was early. 2, he had serious trouble against Volkanovski. When have you ever seen Khabib even remotely compromised other than Michael Johnson, I guess, kind of catching him real quick, and then Khabib just beat the living brakes off of him.
Dude.
And he kind of struggled with
Gleison Tebow.
That's exactly who I was going to say. He struggled a little bit with Tebow. He had a really close fight against Armin Sakarian or Sarukian, however you say his name. That was close like a few years ago. Or actually, that was Islam versus Sarukian. Excuse me. I spoke out of turn. So the only time you ever seen Khabib have trouble was Gleison Tebow, and then that for a second against Johnson.
And he only lost 1 round against Conor.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the saddest thing about Khabib is that I feel like since he retired, I feel like he's going to be, like kind of like forgotten when it comes to like, the talk of like, pound for pound goats, these like champions with like legacies. I feel like when people look back at him, he's not going to be remembered so fondly.
Yeah, I agree with that because even though he has a great record, he didn't defend, like when he finally got the belt, he didn't really defend it as much as, people maybe assumed he would have. And he retired really early, like in his prime, I would say. I think he was finally hitting like his top level and he quit. I mean, it's always good to quit at the top, but I think he still had plenty, like at least 3 more matches that he could have easily been great at.
I think Khabib's a fucking gangster. I don't think you could argue that. I see what you're saying. Selfishly, I would have loved to see the man fight more, but I think there's value in the fact that he stuck to what he was going to say and didn't. Like, that's kind of cool. I also think it was crazy when he jumped the cage and fought an entire corner after finishing Conor McGregor.
Good old Dylan Dennis.
That's so fun. I mean, Dylan Dennis is kind of a tool, but like Khabib is hard for that, dude. That's crazy. That's one of the craziest, most infamous moments in MMA history, probably, right?
That was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Well, the dolly was pretty bad too, though.
Are you telling me watching in real time? I don't know if you guys watched that in real time, but I watched it in real time. Khabib go over the cage and start beating ass after winning a 4-round fight, and then it turning into mayhem and Khabib backing up everything against multiple people. Dude, that shit's.
I think that's kind of corny, if I'm being honest.
I thought it was cool as shit, man. I love that he did that.
I didn't like that his fucking teammates started to try to gang up on fucking Conor.
Dude, they sucker punched Conor and couldn't even knock him out. Those guys are whack.
Yeah, he fucking got him.
No, that was
that was fucked up.
That's his teammates, not Khabib. Khabib fought a round fight, hopped through his mouth guard, hopped the cage, and just started attacking people.
Yeah,
that's fucking.
Anybody could do that. It's not like he knocked where he was dropping people left and right. He was just throwing punches. It's like it's corny, dude. Come on.
I like the chaos and disorder.
I thought it was just kind of corny. It's like what?
Hey, fair enough.
It's corny.
It's a weird situation nonetheless, because I mean, like that whole it was so awkward after with the belt, like with trying to be like, well, announce me the winner, and they're like, dude, get the fuck out of here.
It was weird. I think it goes with the send location, know what I mean? And it showed that he was fully about it, even beyond the conference.
When Conor showed up with the dolly, he wasn't about it.
Yeah, he shit on the bus. That's always my favorite fucking thing. What's about this thing? How about for that box?
You know who really lost out on that was Chiesa. He hasn't been the same since his face got cut up, man.
Rose kind of got screwed with that too. She kind of was not fighting for a bit because of that as well, because she's had emotional trauma.
Which
a lot of people.
To me, that's so weird.
The guy that Demetrius Johnson did that suplex armbar on.
Oh, yeah. Ray Borg. That guy was an idiot, though. He kind of, he got to get so many opportunities and he, kept missing weight and things like that, even though,
I wasn't expecting you to say that. That's funny.
It's probably because his son's dying, but.
Jeez. What if I get a GoFundMe? Everyone else does a GoFundMe.
God, bro. That's so dark.
Well, Nate's acting like this guy's living some happy sunshine life and just eating out, missing weight because he wants to. It's like he's probably stressed out because his fucking kids are dying.
Well, you still gotta be professional. Just because shit's happening in my life, I can't stop going to work. You can't stop going to Frito-Lay.
Well, if my son was dying, probably be in a dark place.
That's what the God wanted.
Okay, let's bring it back. This is the darkest territory that we have delved into.
Okay.
No more Ray Borg. No more Ray Borg's son. Khabib, we all agree he's goated.
No. Hey! I never said he was goated. I never said he was goated.
We would have liked to have seen him fight a little more to really cement it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was ducking everybody. But go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know.
Khabib
He's not going to be in the pound for pound kind of like talks for much longer.
no.
I think it's like as history keeps marching forward, and you got Volkanovskis and people like that, people that have actually put it on the line. Those are the ones that are going to rise to the top.
Yeah, like I said, he's gonna be, not look back. Like, yeah, it's not gonna be good for him 20 years from now.
I don't think he cares that much.
No,
Yeah,
and that's
he's
fine.
very
He doesn't have to care, but it's just like someone who had so much talent just kind of just gave up on it. Which I understand, for his reasoning. I don't fault him for pulling away, but when I look at him, it's just like, all right, cool. He did his thing. He was good, but there are people who are around who are better.
Yeah.
So your GSP is the GOAT, I gather?
Yeah, for now.
Okay.
Because he did everything perfect. Never popped. Defended his belt.
Lost against Matt Serra?
Yeah, no, for sure. He lost. I never said he was undefeated. Relax. But went out there,
Matt.
did his thing, went out on top.
He won against. He came back and beat Matt Serra.
Yeah, he got his revenge.
He lost to Hughes and came back and beat him. Yeah.
He's held titles in different weight classes.
Yeah, poor Bisping. He should not have taken that.
So, who else has done it better? Khabib never got 2 titles.
It's fair.
He didn't defend as much as GSP.
Yeah, it's true.
Man.
GSP is number 1.
There's a lot of people who probably disagree. I think John Jones is the GOAT.
You can't be the GOAT when you tested positive for steroids. Come on.
Dude, we had the picogram talk like 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, picograms, hiding from USADA. It's like, come on, bro.
He wants that entry reversed against DC. Honestly, I think he still would have beat DC that day anyway, but he had that full fucking on lock.
I don't know.
Even DC said you can't fucking do drugs to do a head kick like that.
Tell that to Vitor Belfort.
Yeah, TRT, dude, that fucking juice to. That's crazy that they even allowed that. Bigfoot Silva was fucking doing that too. And look at him now. Bigfoot Silva's just sad. Like he's just
dude. Look at Overeem. If you look at Overeem these days, he's gone vegan and he's like way skinnier. But if
is that right?
Yeah, he's super tiny now. It's weird seeing him. Like he has like no muscles at all.
Yeah.
Oh, vegan.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's like going back to when he used to fight at 205 before all the horse meat. Wink, wink. I liked Overeem, but
Again, I remember. Honestly, that was one of the first cards I saw. Was with Overeem and when he fought Brock Lesnar, we went to Dave and Buster's. Saw it there. I was like, what the hell?
Good old Dave and Buster's.
What about Overeem, Walt Harris, when every single person on planet Earth wanted Walt Harris?
I thought you wanted to get away from the dark stuff. You're going back to
everybody wanted Walt Harris, and Overeem was not fucking having it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did the same thing. It's like, yeah, everybody wants you to win, but
the same thing with Weidman with his, like, he was like, oh, I'm gonna chop away this guy's leg. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, that, no,
dude, just no mercy.
Yeah, it's your bread. It's your bread on the table, so you gotta do what you gotta do. Sorry that
I'm gonna
have a bad thing going on, but you gotta live too.
So. I hate the fight. That fight was not enjoyable.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Even the commentary, you could tell they were like, I don't even know what to say with some of this stuff.
I could feel them wincing every time he leg kicks.
Yeah, that was brutal. I hope he does. He wants to fight again. You see that? Weidman wants to fight again. And yeah, I think even Dana White was like, "Oh, we're gonna have to have a talk with him."
Who would he even fight?
Nobody. He shouldn't fight anybody.
Unranked, unranked fighter.
Where do you put him on the card?
Put him prelims.
Well, wasn't he prelims like
he was like
Tavares?
He was like but he was like the main fight on the prelims. We gotta send him. Yeah. We gotta send him to the Facebook fights. Remember that back in the day?
The fight past prelims.
Oh God.
Yeah. It's like it's sad because imagine we can go back in time and we can whisper in his ear, "Hey, Chris Weidman, don't throw that spinning shit against Chris or against Luke Rockhold, and you'll still be champion." He would have never broken his leg. He would have been the GOAT at 185. Imagine he would have stopped Izzy.
Yeah. It is kind of crazy how you can trace it back to a specific moment like that. And he was getting the better of Rockhold. I mean, it was really close, but I feel like he was getting the better of Rockhold in that fight. And then he just threw some spinny shit. And
look what happened in Bullet. Valentine did the same thing. Valentina, she did that spinning shit and got caught.
Dude, Sonnen, spinny shit versus Silva.
Yeah. People take these risks, and then like when they're winning because they're less confident, and then something like that happens, you go, "Oh man, why'd you do that?"
Because they watch fights like JDS versus Mark Hunt, Edson Barbosa versus Terry Edom when they're throwing spinning shit and it works out.
And even then, people like Barbosa, yeah, you got a bunch of badass spinny shit, but you get fucked up a little bit.
Yeah.
Valentina got screwed, by the way.
Yeah, she should have won.
That was whack, man.
It didn't even make sense to give the champ the last round. It didn't even make there's so many things where it was like gave her a 10-8 the last round, and people were like, "There's nothing in that round that would have been a 10-8 at all."
In real time, it melted my fucking brain when that scorecard was read. It didn't make any goddamn sense.
Yeah, you got to feel bad for Valentina mainly because she made the right adjustments and was doing really well. It's still a competitive fight overall, but she should have won that.
I thought she clearly won.
Yeah. And now they both have hand injuries, so it's like who knows? She's probably not going to get the rematch right away like they wanted.
I feel like you have to if it's a draw under those circumstances, and if they're able to heal at a similar time frame.
Yeah, but you got to think too. The division's moving,
but it isn't. There's no. They'll fight eventually.
I guess we got to see who recovers first and what.
Yeah. I guess we're just gonna have to see Shevchenko beat the dog shit out of somebody to get back to her, huh?
Yeah, I think Ross was a fraud. She got lucky, which whatever shit happens. But when they had the rematch and Valentina shows up and clearly wins, it's just come on.
Yeah, that's why judging needs to be overhauled, or something needs to be. These people need to be held accountable and explain why they made these decisions sometimes. Because I don't think anyone could have actually been able to explain why they gave that a 10-8.
Well, you got to check their bank statements. They'll tell you why.
Yeah, Mexican Independence Day. They couldn't let that happen.
Yeah.
You know what would be honestly kind of rad, and it would never happen, but have the judges just speak on a press conference. People can ask them about their decision making, and just try and understand their point of view. Could you imagine the transparency that would come from that?
Well,
actually having to speak on it and back it up in a public setting.
Yeah, well, they're protected because Ariel Helwani has tried and asked, but they're protecting these people who don't have to really answer to anybody, and it sucks because after that fight happened, the Las Vegas State Athletic Commission, they had a emergency meeting about 10-8 rounds to hopefully be clear on what a 10-8 actually is after that fiasco. But I don't know. It's just there's just certain people, but I don't know how you fix it because Chris Lieben, right? People are like, oh, like, we should get people who know the sport, blah blah blah. But then Chris Lieben shows up, and everybody's he should know what's going on, and then he doesn't even judge the fight right, and it's just like, all right, maybe this guy's been hit in the head too many times.
So I knew that Lieben was a judge. I didn't know that he was turning in sketchy scorecards.
Well, no, it wasn't even. I don't know if it was sketchy, but it's like I don't know what he was watching, but yeah, he like scored the fight wrong, and
yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's why they say don't leave it in the hands of the judges. I guess that's going to be the best course of action, unless you're just fully dominant and there's just no fucking way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
MMA.
Yeah, there's for as fun as MMA is, there's just so many things that are still wrong with it.
Yeah, but I mean, unless the commissions or people are going to group together and try to figure out these solutions, going to keep being the same.
Yeah, I just situations like that. I'm like, there has to be some sort of corruption going on. There's no fucking way.
Yeah, there's definitely money. Yeah, got to be in some way, just like it is in boxing and everything else. There's just some, like they say about refs, etc. Like in NFL, NBA, like giving the wrong calls for things, just to benefit the other team or the home team.
You know what? Speaking of that, has there been updates on James Cross and that whole thing with the sports betting?
No.
That's probably going to be in litigation for a while.
I would love to know how that pans out.
Pretty corrupt, man. I feel like for UFC to put a ban on his gym, it's pretty serious.
Yeah, they must have saw the facts and were like,
yeah, but I wonder who ratted. Who in the Discord ratted?
Oh, well, I'm glad they did. Fucking assholes, man.
Yeah, shit like that's it's not right. It shouldn't go down like that, and especially someone like James Krause, who is such a brilliant mind when it comes to being a coach, right? Because remember, he had a hand in Brandon Moreno winning his belt, but then he just throws everything away because and I can understand, right? He was making he wasn't making enough money being a fighter, being a coach. So he found this side hustle. It wasn't the most ethical side hustle, but when he's talking about making as much money as he was from it, it's like, people get greedy.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Tanked his whole gym, crazy how he affected the sport with just, a couple of bad decisions.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if it's been happening elsewhere and people just didn't realize it.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Doing that and maintaining a Discord seems like kind of risky, though, obviously.
Yeah, but they were very open about it because...
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. I guess it was... Well, it's not really a gray area. I don't fucking know. Obviously, it wasn't right.
Agreed.
Okay, this episode is going to come out after the Prime boxing card, but I'm very curious. Who do you guys think is going to win between Logan Paul and Dylan Dennis?
Logan.
Wait, who said Logan?
Me.
You're crazy.
You think Dylan Dennis is going to win?
Logan can't fight. Have you watched?
Dylan.
Yes, he can.
He can jiu-jitsu, grapple.
No, he's an MMA fighter. He can box. He's got hands.
It's different.
I don't know enough about it. I mean, I don't know Dylan to be even remotely a striker. Obviously, he's like an expert grappler.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that he's like, I don't know, like an actual fighter. Where that whole buildup lost me was like, I listened to, I watched part of one of their press conferences, and it's the one where Tyson Fury's dad or somebody came out and like started screaming and like flipping, and it was just like unbearably corny. like I just didn't get any enjoyment out of it. And it felt like they're doing everything they can to hype it up, except make it about fighting, you know? Which I do appreciate, like the circus sideshow factor of it. But I feel like that's what's been, at least for the amount of effort I put into researching it, that's more of the stuff I know about. Like I know about Dennis posting all these crazy like videos or pictures of Logan Paul's like fiance or whatever, and there's some kind of lawsuit. Like I'm familiar with the buildup in that kind of way. But Logan Paul is a fighter. I know he fought Floyd Mayweather and lost, which there's maybe some experience to be gained from that.
That shit was scripted, dude.
But I'm gonna say probably Dylan Dennis. If it goes to like a decision, Dennis wins. But I don't know, man. I just hope somebody falls out and Mike Perry gets to go in there and whoop some ass and get a huge paycheck.
That's just unfair.
Perry fucks them both up, dude.
100%. Perry would fight them both on the same night and beat both of them.
Yeah, Perry would beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And then isn't there a Tommy Fury KSI that like isn't that the main fight, right?
Well, it's like a co-main event type shit. Like both fights are the main event, but
yeah,
but
Tommy Fury's gonna win, right?
Yeah. Yeah, KSI, I like KSI, but he's been boxing bums. Tommy Fury's a real boxer, so I think he's going to get washed. And it's just, it's crazy. I love that Tommy Fury's like, he's like, I already put an end to influencer boxing when I beat Jake Paul. He's like, well, but this is going to be the final nail in this one. He's like, when I knock you out, KSI, this whole thing's over.
Yeah. I
hope he does.
Yeah, same here.
Oh yeah, I think he beats him. I'd like to see Dylan Dennis win because it seems like in all these influencer boxer Jake Paul versus MMA guy, the MMA fighters always kind of fall short. So it'd be like
we've never had a dub.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool to see Dylan Dennis get one, you know. But I don't know. I don't even know if I'm gonna watch it.
There was I'm not going to watch it live because I'm going to actually sing this group behind me on Saturday. Nice. But there was a press conference this morning. I don't know if you guys saw that drama.
I saw the old guy punching glass.
Oh yeah, no. Between Logan and Dylan, so like they had their press conference. They did it like at separate times. When Dylan and Logan theirs was done, they got up and they were talking shit, and then Logan threw his mic at Dylan, but he kind of like threw it underhand. It was like a weird throw. I don't even know why you would do that. And then they started rushing each other, and Dylan like overhand just like spiked his mic in Logan's face, and like Logan just ran off like holding his face, and we haven't seen Logan since.
Yeah, they said it.
That's kind of cool.
They gashed him over his eye, so they're saying like it's still a possibility he might. I mean, he said he's gonna fight, but I guess the commission.
Oh, so he actually hurt him?
Yeah,
he cut him. He like got cut. With the mic, because he hit him with the mic. He didn't hit him with his fist.
Yeah.
When do they fight? How soon is it?
Saturday.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Like, so we might actually get to see Mike Perry go in and
face off.
People up.
Perry and Dennis face off.
Let's go.
That's so crazy.
And Logan Paul is bleeding and taking one to the grill.
Yeah.
I'm kind of.
Yeah, Logan Paul's just annoying.
Yeah,
I like
that.
You like who?
I like Jake Paul. I think Jake Paul has actually done a lot of good, but I don't know how. I'm undecided about Logan Paul.
Jake Paul's the better fighter out of the brothers, but I think he's just kind of in the same realm too, where he's just hand picking fights that he, thinks he can win. But also, I think he paid off Anderson Silva. There's no way Anderson Silva didn't fight at his full potential. Like when I watch that fight, I'm like, there's something going on here. This is not normal.
I don't know, man. I like seeing, even if they lose, which that sucks or whatever. But I like seeing fighters that are in like the twilights of their career catching huge paydays, fighting Jake Paul. Like it.
Yeah, but if you look at Anderson Silva's, just look at his boxing post MMA, he wasn't boxing the same when he fought Jake Paul.
No, dude, the way he just beat the shit out of Tito Ortiz.
Yeah, it's just a little sketchy, but I get it. It's like, yeah, hey, we're gonna pay you life-changing money to take a dive. It's like, yeah, well, he's like, Anderson Silva, I don't give a fuck about my boxing career. Like, let's go. I'm down. I can totally believe it. And I'm whatever. Like, I'm okay with it, but I'm not going to, be under this illusion that Jake Paul's this great boxer, because he's not. Because look at his performance against a real boxer like Tommy Fury. That's a true testament to his skills.
Yeah. Maybe all roads lead towards the Paul brothers just fighting each other.
No, it's not.
That'd be some shit.
No, the ultimate fight is Jake Paul versus KSI. That's like, in terms of like this influencer boxing, that's the fight that everybody. That's like the fight.
You got to think he would just whoop KSI's ass, right? Because
no, he's actually ducking KSI.
That right? So KSI's real?
Yeah, in their world, but
yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because
I know him as a YouTuber, obviously. But
yeah, because they've tried to make that fight. Like, they were supposed to fight in December, but they were having negotiations, and when all terms were met, they're like, oh, nah, never mind.
I could see why people kind of hate on the influencer combat stuff. I actually don't mind it for some of the reasons that I've mentioned previously.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, even if the skill level isn't necessarily there, it's people fighting. That's badass. I love it. I like seeing people scrap, man. Even if you'd rather see skilled people like in UFC, right? Like, I prefer MMA over boxing.
Mm-hmm.
But you still get to see Dylan Dennis and Jake Paul, or maybe Mike Perry, just come to blows. It's kind of cool.
Now, what do you think about, it's not like officially announced, but Mike Perry is supposed to fight Eddie Alvarez in his next bare knuckle.
I think he beats the shit out of Eddie Alvarez. I think Mike Perry is just built for bare knuckle. And I think Eddie Alvarez is really going to struggle with it. Yeah.
Eddie just always gets caught. And if you watch all his MMA fights, he always gets dropped and caught, and and that's with gloves. So when it comes to bare knuckle, I feel like it's going to be not a good look.
What weight? Because that's important. What weight's it going to be at? Because Perry's bigger.
I think it's 170.
Dude, Perry could fight 185 if he wanted. He's like super built. Eddie Alvarez is a 155 pounder.
Yeah.
Was maybe now.
Yeah, I think that's why they're fighting at 170. So he doesn't want to cut weight anymore.
But Mike Perry's like a hard ass 170, where Eddie Alvarez is probably like a soft 170.
Yeah, with zero experience in BKFC.
Yeah. I'm down though, because Eddie Alvarez, he's a scrapper, so maybe he's a good fit for it too, because we haven't really seen it. It just seems like Perry is just put on this earth for exactly that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just bummed because when I look at Eddie Alvarez, I was, and it's probably not fair, but I was look at him and Mighty Mouse, because they both left the UFC around the same time, went to fight for one, and two different paths, right? Like, Mighty Mouse is very successful, still successful, and then Eddie Alvarez isn't with one anymore. He's kind of just floating around, and
he got beat up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, he was winning. I don't remember if that was his first fight where he got DQ'd for strikes to the back of the head.
Yeah.
No, his first fight he got destroyed by that Nastarukian guy.
Okay, I knew he lost, and one of them was a kind of a weird DQ because he was illegally striking.
Yeah. So it's crazy, but
I like Eddie Alvarez. I'd love to see him fight Mike Perry and bare knuckle. I'm with it.
Yeah, but I wonder how long BKFC can go, because I wonder if they'll ever have a star born within their promotion, right? Because if you look at all their champs and everybody, it's people coming from other promotions that have already built their name.
Like a mainstream star?
No. Is there someone in BKFC who can grow in that company and become a star?
Oh, that's Mike. I think Mike Perry.
No, but Mike Perry's already had a name from UFC. I'm talking about
I got you. Like somebody was never in another organization.
Yeah.
Like, oh God.
Don't watch it enough to know. There might be people that are, started there.
I think the MMA guys that cross over for the most part. Well, aside from Perry, all the MMA guys you see fighting it are like older and like kind of washed. Where Perry's not washed.
Yeah, who's the heavyweight champ? Is it or was it Alan Belcher came back as a heavyweight?
Belcher's fighting heavyweight in bare knuckle.
Yeah.
Is he doing good?
Yeah.
God, you forget about Alan Belcher. What happened with him in the UFC? Why did he even get out? Did he just get old?
I don't know, Han.
He was pretty good at middleweight. Ooh.
Yeah.
Dang, he used to be a staple, man.
Did you? I know Nate did, but did you watch Masvidal's bare knuckle MMA with Fabricio Verdum and Junior Dos Santos?
No. How did that go? I knew it existed, but I didn't get a chance to watch it, and I didn't follow up on it.
It's on YouTube, so you should check it out. But Fabricio gets whooped on.
I would have expected that. I figured that Dos Santos would have beat his ass.
Yeah.
How bad? Or should I just watch it and be surprised by it?
Yeah, just watch it. It wasn't like anything crazy, but
so it's bare knuckle MMA. How did the lack of gloves in maybe some of the other fights factor into the submission part of it?
It's not
because
really,
to me, what's that?
They're like way more hesitant to strike just because obviously there's like way more repercussions.
You need more technique to strike, and you can't strike as hard. And then without the gloves, like you have just probably a little more grip and flexibility, I'd imagine. Yeah,
100%. Because the gloves, even though there's like the form factor to like kind of have your hands like fold over like that, it's still restrictive.
I think that's cool.
Yeah,
I bet you less people get knocked out doing that because you don't have the gloves to like. Now, are they wrapping the wrists or is it just full bare knuckle?
They wrap the wrists.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that. That's really intriguing, actually.
Yeah, it's fun to watch, but I don't know if it'll obviously like it's hard to compete with the UFC. I don't know if we'll ever get to that scale, but it's just interesting to watch MMA just in a different setting.
Yeah, I would say that just the lack of gloves requires like almost an entirely unique skill set. Because you have to punch differently, and you have to take that into consideration. Yeah,
and defense too, right? The way you have your guard, it's way different because things can slip through if you're not used to defending against bare knuckle.
So it's wrist only, or do they have anything on their knuckles at all, or is it around the thumb?
Yeah. I think it's just like they just have like hand wraps.
So there's less cuts then. Because if you have your knuckles wrapped, you're going to cut people easier.
Yeah,
that's interesting. That's very intriguing. To me, that would lead to like less long-term injuries.
Yeah, because obviously, when you're punching somebody with a glove, it's like 4-ounce glove. It's still it's not the same. You have like this false sense of like security.
Straight up, dude. I mean, I imagine you've punched. I know I have, but you've probably punched a heavy bag with your hands wrapped, with MMA gloves, and also with nothing on your hands at all. It's an entirely different ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
And a person's like skull is much harder than the bag. So you got to be extra careful.
100%. But yeah, just find some time, watch it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, dude, I'm super down. That seems awesome.
And what's up with your boy Francis kind of getting, kind of overlooked by the boxing community?
Yeah, so that's crazy, man. I haven't been hearing much about it. Like, he is fighting Tyson Fury, yeah?
Yeah, but the promotion is dog shit because I don't know if you saw it, but Fury announced a fight in December.
So when's he supposed to fight Ngannou?
I think October, right? Isn't it this month?
That's fucking crazy. Dude, that's so arrogant.
Yeah.
That is unbelievably arrogant, announcing a fight like that. Wow. Watching Ngannou catch him. Imagine. That'd be crazy. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Fury is just unbelievable as a boxer at that weight class.
Yeah.
And if Deontay Wilder is going to hit him with his best shot and Fury gets up from that,
Yeah.
I don't know what Ngannou's got for him.
They screwed Deontay Wilder in that first fight. Because I don't know if you've seen like those videos where people will like start like a 10 count right when he gets knocked down.
Dude, that was a long count.
Yeah. So it's pretty wild that that Fury has his next fight in December. So like they're already this is gonna be just a easy fight, and then we're gonna move on and get back to real boxing.
Dude, he might be right though.
Yeah, history, will show that.
You know what? Fuck though. And Ngannou, he's gonna get a huge bag anyway. He still overall wins. He increases his profile. It is weird that it's getting overlooked. Makes you wonder if it has anything to do with KSI Tommy Fury and the Jake Paul Dylan Dennis thing because of how like semi-viral that's going.
I think it's a little different because
it's a totally different lane for sure.
Yeah, but if you go back to Conor versus Floyd Mayweather, he had the whole UFC machine behind him as well to help do the promotion, and they went on those world tour for the press conferences. But in terms of Fury and Ngannou, there's really like PFL was down to help promote, but he didn't want their help, so he didn't opt in to have them help, and it's just like Ngannou was the UFC heavyweight champion, but in terms of star power, he wasn't on the same level as Conor McGregor, so that's why there's I don't think there's the quite the same buzz.
Yeah, the pay-per-view's $80 too.
Oh, I'm not gonna pay $80 to watch that.
Really, you're not gonna support Francis Ngannou?
Brother, I'm gonna pay $3.99 just for.
Yeah, I know. I'm.
That's $80, dog. That's
a lot.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna pay $80 to watch.
Hey, you know what? We're giving them publicity right now.
Yeah, this is priceless.
Press acknowledging it.
This is priceless.
Straight up.
Yeah, but it is crazy that it was such a talking point until it was like officially announced, and now it's just kind of like, nobody really talks about it, and it's sad.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Ngannou he comes out a winner like no matter what, because he's still going to get to go back to PFL, fight MMA, make a grip of money, regardless, more than what he was making in the UFC, and this still should increase his profile. I think it has increased it compared to what he had before, but it is oddly quiet.
Yeah. Imagine this scenario. Francis Ngannou loses to Tyson Fury, whatever, right? Decision, gets knocked out, whatever. But imagine... Wait, say that again?
I said I don't think it will negatively affect him at all.
Okay, but check this. He loses in boxing, makes his PFL debut, and imagine he loses in PFL. Now he's on a losing streak in boxing and MMA. Like, what would Francis do at that point? Would he still be, highly valued in MMA, or would people, be like, damn, he dropped the bag?
Yeah, so PFL has to pay his opponents $2 million to fight him too.
I'm gonna say no.
That's the minimum.
I'll say that no, he did. If he does lose twice, I don't think he dropped the bag. I think if he would have kept winning in the UFC, and that's a big if, because he would have had to go through John Jones, right? And I'm not saying he was ducking Jones. I don't think that's it at all.
No.
But purely from a money and I guess clout standpoint or exposure standpoint, he already won. And even if he takes a couple L's, it's still light years ahead of what he was making in the UFC.
Yeah.
If we're talking purely financial. Now, here's my question. What heavyweight on earth has anything for Ngannou besides John Jones?
Derek Lewis beat him. Don't forget about the Black Beast.
Shit. Okay, besides Derek Lewis even. That's such a thin division, like, in general, worldwide. Like,
well, you gotta look at who's in PFL, too, and if they get eligible.
Nobody.
Yeah, it's nobody.
He's going to be fucking people up if he looks like how he looks like pre-surgeries and whatnot, you know? But yeah, I don't know. People have bad luck going over to PFL, so maybe he does take a couple losses or something. I don't know. That'll be an interesting timeline, man. Yeah. Honestly, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, because if you look at every ex-UFC star to go to PFL, nobody's had success.
It's just those lighter weight classes are so tough, like around the world, especially for Demetrius Johnson. I just don't think heavyweight's that stacked. It's not even that stacked in the UFC. I think someone would have to get really lucky and somehow knock Ngannou out, which maybe there's some random motherfucker that we never heard of who's somehow going to put hands on Ngannou, or maybe Fury just brutalizes Ngannou or something to where it changes them. You know, that's always a possibility, especially in boxing. And he's not a boxer, and he's facing Tyson Fury, who's just amazing. But I don't know. I would be very surprised by that. But MMA is crazy. You never know.
Yeah, I'm just very curious because obviously the heavyweight division, the UFC is moving on without him, and without that recognition, without that title, so nobody's really caring about the other heavyweights.
The MMA gods can also be very unforgiving, so who knows? But I think overall, Ngannou already won, even if his fight right now is getting looked over a little bit.
A lot
of it.
Yeah, it's a weird world, but hopefully
maybe once it gets closer to it, they might ramp it up a little bit.
Isn't it this month?
Is it?
That's a good question. Let me see.
Let me look up the exact date. I could have sworn it was this month because he's fighting. Fury's booked to fight Usyk in December.
Oh, dude, yeah, dude, this is in 2 weeks. It's October 28th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now then, they're doing a horrible job promoting this shit.
It's sad, but
that doesn't make sense. Why would you put that much money into someone but not promote it or advertise it? You know,
maybe it's because from what I could tell, the boxing world at large just despises this fight. Like, they hate it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're behind it whatsoever. And the boxing world at large would be incentivized to kind of bury this thing. So whoever Fury fights next can be bigger. You know what I mean? Because if Fury beats Ngannou, he's not really raising his profile that much, if at all.
Yeah. And in terms of the money that Ngannou's making for this fight is like crumbs in the boxing world. So I don't think it's like that big of a deal for them. And also, maybe I'm picturing Dana White doing some black magic behind the scenes, calling up people and be like, "Hey, let's blackball this card and not give that guy who tried to screw us over any promo."
Is this fight under PFL or is it under like a different organization?
No, it's different under a different organization. PFL has nothing to do with this fight.
So what's the organization then? Just like Tyson Fury's promoter? No,
it's what's Ngannou's company? Yeah, because it's like a joint thing. Because Ngannou has that company that he created just for this fight, and it was like kind of like a jab at what Dana White called him.
That's why they don't have the resources.
So drama from it
in the boxing world, the people behind the scenes in boxing, they got to know that. And they got to think they're just snuffing it out by not promoting this whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't know why you wouldn't have at least PFL help with the advertising, especially since they have, the network connections and et cetera.
Yeah, I
And
feel like,
you're part of the board of directors, right? Like Daniel, that was part of his deal too. So it's like, wouldn't you have wanted them to elevate that company as well?
yeah, but then you also got to think too that means he has to cut them a check.
yeah, interesting. And considering it's boxing, there's probably all kinds of weird ass fucking shenanigans happening behind the scenes too.
100%.
But we'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out in a couple of weeks to see if this was all worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down, but in general, MMA over boxing all goddamn day.
Yeah, like I've always respected boxing. I watch boxing, but yeah, I don't ever get as excited for boxing as I do MMA.
Same.
But
MMA, baby.
all right, well, hopefully by the time this is out, Dylan Dennis will have knocked out Logan Paul. For all the people who bought into Crypto Zoo.
I forgot about, dude. So many people lost money on that.
Yeah,
I didn't even think. Oh my god.
Yeah, but weird world. These podcasts are always fun. I love talking MMA, and like I always say, people hit me up behind the scenes and they want to do specific MMA podcasts with me, and I turn everybody down. Because I only want to do it with you guys because we've been doing it for so long. This is our show, so I refuse. So I appreciate you guys always taking the time to doing this. I could do this every week if I'm being honest.
No, I love it. Are we going to talk about Sean O'Malley at all? Or is that too far in the past?
No.
That feels pretty major.
All right, no. I'm down. I thought you guys were wanting to wrap it up, but I'm down. Okay, let's start with Strickland since it's more recent, or is O'Malley more recent?
Strickland's more recent.
Okay, all right, Strickland. Okay, I think you can't take away anything from his performance, right? For him to step up, right? Because he wasn't the original opponent. For him to step up, to travel to Australia, to fight Izzy. I think he went in there with just nothing to lose. So for him to rise to the occasion, it was just one of those moments where you're like, wow, this is why MMA is great, right? He didn't win because some fluke flash knockout. He went in there and put a beating on someone that people argued is the greatest middleweight of all time, and it was just a spectacular performance.
Potentially hot take. I think if they rematch, Strickland does it again. I think just his weird ass style versus Izzy is just like, I don't know if kryptonite's the right word, but like,
They say styles
it just
make
didn't
fights.
styles make fights. Didn't look like a fluke, and I think training with Pereira and Strickland, like sacrificing his ego essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So from the guy that knocked his ass out and has knocked out Izzy multiple times, and the fact that he had the foresight to realize that him versus Izzy, even if last minute, was within the realm of possibility, it's just crazy, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I think there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, I'd be interested in the rematch just because
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just because if you look at historically, right, with the way Izzy performs, that wasn't like it something just seemed off, right? And there's like this weird question mark over like what the hell happened to him, and this is not taking anything away from Strickland because I was a fan of his performance, but Izzy did an interview on his YouTube channel and didn't really speak too much about why he performed the way that he did, but he kept repeating that he's quietly confident. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I would like to see them fight again. but not right away, because as dominant as he was as a champion, he just had an immediate rematch for his title. So let's just, put him back into the pool and just kind of let the division figure itself out.
Dude, Strickland beat him with a weirdly timed jab that everyone struggles with, right? People struggle with Strickland's jab for sure. He beat Izzy with the weird jab, straight 1 and 2s, and then check and leg kicks. Like, it's so freaking basic, right? And no one's ever tried to come at Izzy like that in that type of a way. I think Strickland's corner, using the term snake charmer, is very accurate. I think Izzy has for sure snake charmed people, man, and didn't work on Strickland. Now, how does Strickland do against people like Whitaker? I think Whitaker beats Strickland. How does he do against Costa? I think he struggles against Costa. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of interesting fights. I just think with the way Izzy fights, the frequency of how he fights, his lack of respect for Strickland, combined with like everything Strickland did leading up to it, plus his style, is just not favorable for Izzy in any way, unless Izzy just dramatically changed everything about how he fights. But then he would be going into Strickland's game plan, and it'd be like a boring, just kind of predictable fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, but like I said, I like picture perfect. What I would like to see is give Cannonier the title shot against Strickland, right? Let them rematch.
Yeah, because that was debatable. You could have had that for Strickland.
So
that fight was...
yeah, I would like to see that happen next, right? Because Cannonier was there as the backup. He was good to go. He almost had to fight. I don't know if you guys were keeping up with like what was going on during fight week, but Strickland got into that altercation on the beach where he punched that fan, and UFC was already calling John Crouch like, yo, like, you got to get on a plane and get out here because we don't know like what's going to happen like legally. So that's pretty interesting. But I would like Cannonier to be able to get the next shot, and then let the division play itself out. Like do Cannonier versus Strickland, and then do the DDP Izzy fight as a number one contender fight. I think that would be a fair fight, and see how things go from there.
I'm with it 1,000%, and then maybe do like winner of Hamzat and Kamaru gets Whitaker, or maybe like something along those lines that can make some sense.
Yeah, that's what I would like, because I don't agree with these two welterweights fighting and jumping the entire division.
Wacky. Khamzat's a middleweight. That was going to be middleweight from the jump. You know what I mean? The Usman factor is kind of weird. If Usman wins somehow, then what?
Yeah, but you got to look at Khamzat too. He's not like some ranked middleweight, right? Because his fight before that was like this crazy debacle where he missed weight, and he's only fighting middleweight because UFC is like, yo, like, you can't fight welterweight anymore. You're missing weight.
What was his last fight?
It was Kevin Holland.
Kevin. Oh yeah, when Kevin Holland tried to dab him up and he got finished 40 seconds later.
Yeah. So I would like to see. That's what I would like to see happen in that middleweight division. Just see how everything shakes out, because when you have these consecutive rematches, it's just like things become just like very stale. And like I said, Izzy just got one, and I get it if Izzy was on another streak and then he lost, and they're like, all right, cool, like, let's give him another rematch. I'd be okay with that, but not back-to-back rematches. Like you got to go out there and get in the mix.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And going to Sean O'Malley,
I ate pro on that one. I thought he was going to get worked, man. Like on the podcast.
Yeah.
I would say that I for sure picked Sterling against O'Malley.
Yeah. I'm like anti O'Malley. And when he knocked out Sterling, I was just like, this is a weird world we're living in.
Dude, it was such a good sequence too.
Yeah. And listening to Alger's explanation on how he got in that position, to me, it's just like, you're an idiot. Like, why would you care that, the fans are booing? It doesn't, seem like
Never cared before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why would you want to, give in now? It's just like, yeah, he and him too. I feel like with him making such a big mistake, when he clearly knew that he shouldn't be rushing in against like a counterpuncher like that. He's just like, there goes like your whole run. It's like, good luck getting back to a title shot, because UFC and him don't get along. And we've seen this time and time again, when UFC, they're not a fan of their champion when they lose. It's like, you ain't getting back there.
Dude, I want Merab versus Cejudo.
Pretty sure that's going to happen, because they're.
And I want Sandhagen versus Sean O'Malley. I think that's such a cool matchup.
Well, Sandhagen's injured, so I'm pretty sure they're going with Cheeto.
Yeah, because he's the only one to beat him, So
yeah, fair. I see the value in that. There's a cool storyline there.
Yeah, I think Sandhagen's better than all of them, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he like hurt his hand or something, right? If I remember correctly.
Dude, Cheeto versus O'Malley gives me Michael Bisping versus Dan Henderson when Bisping was champ kind of vibes. Like, there's other people a little more deserving than Cheeto, but you kind of see the storyline. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He wants to get it back for sure, Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it too, but
I like Cheeto.
But I don't think he does well against Cheeto, because Cheeto's only gotten better. I think Sean O'Malley kind of got pushed into his position, because I don't think he beat Peter Yan. That was a close fight, but I feel like if they do book the Cheeto fight, I think Cheeto gets him.
You know something Sean O'Malley said that I liked. I liked that he acknowledged that he shouldn't go up a weight class because he just doesn't have anything for Volkanovski. Like, he actually like fully said that in an interview. And I think it's kind of cool that somebody like him, who has this like ultra like confident out there persona, still kind of keeps it real enough to be able to say something like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to go up and then fight someone like Volkanovski and get completely washed, because then it just makes everyone else in that division look terrible.
Oh yeah,
the champ like just gets washed from the fucking champ above you. You're kind of like, damn, this guy beating all these people and he can't even fucking hold a candle to this guy.
In 135 is such a cool division. Like, I think he gets to stick around for a while, and there's all kinds of cool fights for him.
Yeah, because he didn't really fight a lot of the people, so he's got a lot of options.
I don't think he's going to be champ for a long time, if I'm being honest.
No.
I think he would struggle with Merab.
Oh yeah,
Merab would whip him.
Because Merab is going to go about it different than Aljamain.
Yeah.
I think he would struggle with Cejudo. And I think Corey Sandhagen would just be really interesting.
Yeah, Sandhagen would be a good match, because they would both be striking, and it would just be who has the better striking at that point.
I think Sandhagen would wrestle him.
But who knows, man? I mean, I thought that Aljamain was just going to run through him. And the fact that he was able to keep it on the feet and like finish him in that kind of a way. And Aljo had him on the fence there for a minute. And he kind of held his own.
Yeah, it's a rough go, but yeah, that division's fun. But I think the guy to look out for is that fucking Umar.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, Umar, but you know what I'm more interested in? I'm not sure if you're keeping it with Bellator, but they're looking to be sold, and pretty sure they're going to get bought out by the PFL, which would be interesting. But I'm curious to see if they would absorb like all the contracts and see who actually makes it to the PFL, or if in a perfect world some people actually can not go to the PFL and go to the UFC?
Okay, I would want. So imagine that they can go to the UFC and that they will go to the UFC.
Okay.
I want AJ McKee in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
I want Pitbull in the UFC.
Ooh.
I would love for
Their middleweight champ, Johnny Eblen.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Johnny Eblen. I think his name's Usman Nurmagomedov.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to see in the UFC, and that's about it.
Dude, Ryan Bader goes back.
How though? You think he would do anything?
He's still their champ.
He's the heavyweight champ. Him,
but in UFC though, you think
he's better than the UFC's heavyweight champ, 100%.
Fair enough. Yeah, heavyweights are kind of old anyway, and Bader's not that old, so yeah, you might be right. There's value in that.
He needs that rematch.
I'd like to see Gegard Mousasi, I guess, back in the UFC. That even though he's a little not what he was,
I can't believe I'm still to this day. I'm still surprised he left the UFC.
I think Izzy would have struggled with vintage Gegard. Like Gegard at his best probably could have become champ with the way middleweight ended up shaking out, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think Bellator's middleweight champ now beats everybody in the UFC.
Maybe. I think AJ McKee holds his own at 145. I think that would be super interesting.
Pitbull was saying he wouldn't go to PFL. He already kind of talked about it and said if they get bought out by them, that he would, like, his contract's void.
I'd love to see him.
And he wants to go to the UFC. He said he wouldn't mind going to PFL and winning the belt just so he can go to the UFC as a double champ, like a champ for two organizations.
Dude, give me Pitbull versus Calvin Kattar or something like that. I think that would be cool. Give me Pitbull versus Yair Rodriguez. Like, there's so many cool matches and questions I have about that. Same with AJ McKee. Imagine like McKee versus Ortega, the type of grappling that would go down. It'd be so cool.
Yeah, kind of curious. I don't know if he'd do that good though.
McKee or Pitbull.
McKee.
I think McKee would do good. I think Pitbull's a little old and a little past him. You know what I mean? Especially at such a lightweight. And I think the UFC is just evolved.
Who's the lightweight guy that just beat Brett Primus? What the hell's his name? Hold on.
Oh, that's Usman.
That's Usman Nurmagomedov.
Yeah. I thought Usman. I thought we were talking about another Usman.
Or maybe it's a Nurmagomedov though.
Yeah.
He's like of Khabib lineage, but he's not grappling centric. He's like kicks and is striking based.
Yeah. No, that is Usman.
Yeah, he's really good. He would probably be.
Oh, dude, give me
a lot of trouble.
I would want to see Usman versus Fiziev. I think that'd be such a cool fight.
Yeah.
Damn.
Once Fiziev recovers, of course, and if he looks like himself after.
And see what happens with Bellator and et cetera too. You know.
Yeah, look at the champions. Like I forgot about Nemkov.
Yeah, Nemkov.
Yeah,
he probably go to PFL though.
Nemkov's
that kind of picture.
Nemkov versus Pahea or fucking
Nemkov versus Jiri.
Yeah. That would be insane.
Dude, that'd be a sick fight.
Nemkov and then Pettis. Imagine Pettis coming back to Pettis versus O'Malley. That'd be interesting.
So, here's a question. I know Dana, like Loki at first was throwing shade at Bellator, saying like who would buy it, and then kind of retracted his statement saying you need Bellator. With talks of UFC being a monopoly, can the UFC even buy Bellator? Like, is that even an option? Can they absorb it? Like,
if they're a private company, they could sell them straight to them. Like, it's only if they're like have stock exchange that they would have to get it approved. But if it's a straight business, they could, like, if Viacom has it, like, depending on how they have the assets, they could do a direct transaction and it wouldn't count as that.
Because to me, regardless of how you value their roster or whatever, buying Bellator and just doing what you did to Strikeforce and doing what you did to Pride, that in itself is value for the UFC. But that's like super monopoly type shit.
Yeah, but it's not like they did anything to hurt the business of Bellator. It's just Viacom doesn't want to do that business anymore, you know?
Yeah. Or do you think the fact that they signed that deal with like WWE and like have this super fucking company, Bellator just doesn't even matter because they're focusing on that?
Yeah. They don't need Bellator, but I feel like they would benefit from having those champions come through, because I like, just like when Strikeforce came over, because if you look at a lot of those Strikeforce champions, they became UFC champions. And when I'm looking at the Bellator champion roster, like Eblin, Nurmagomedov, Nemkov, I feel like they could be real contenders and beat the top fighters in UFC. Which, people would never look at Bellator, because Bellator used to be the C League, right? Because it used to be UFC, Strikeforce, Bellator. But over time, Bellator was able to stick around and absorb a lot of people, outside of the UFC, people leaving the UFC, and develop a lot of talent. And I legitimately think some of their champions could beat the UFC champions, no problem.
Dude, I didn't even realize that Usman Nurmagomedov is undefeated. Same with Eblin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and
that's why it'd be nice to see them fight against people like at their like full level, With some of these people, like Premise had no chance, Brent, like even Usman told him in the press conference, like, dude, like you're getting washed. Like,
well, Premise, didn't he kind of struggle in the UFC at one point too?
Yeah, but he beat Chandler in Bellator.
Few people beat Chandler in Bellator.
Yeah,
Pitbull beat Chandler.
Yeah, but look how successful Chandler is. So that's what I'm saying. These guys can hang.
You know what though? Chandler, ultra exciting. He has a losing UFC record, right?
Yeah, because
or like a winning, or is he?
No, because he beat Dan Hooker,
right?
And then he lost to
Oliveira.
Lost to Gaethje.
Lost to
Poirier. Then he
beat Ferguson.
Yeah.
He's 2-3.
Yeah, it's 2-3.
It's just so fucking exciting that he's just relevant. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
But it's crazy too, because he even pointed out, he's like, dude, he's like, I don't mind the break that I'm having right now, because when I came into the UFC from Dan Hooker to now, I was nonstop. And it's like, yeah, that's true. He was on a crazy schedule.
And Chandler's hard, man. Like all those fights were, aside from Poirier, all those fights were really close, man. Like you could argue that the Oliveira fight probably could have been stopped.
Yeah, he was so close to being champion.
Imagine what that timeline would look like had he won that. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, it'd be insane.
Yeah,
but
wild stuff.
I hope some of them. If I could pick one person from Bellator to go to UFC, it'd be Johnny Eblin.
Yeah. Oh, dude. That would be awesome. But the ones that I mentioned before, those are kind of like the five. Sergio Pettis in the UFC, maybe it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But even when
he might go to PFL with his brother, though.
Yeah, he had kind of a hard time in the UFC.
Yeah, but he was also fighting different weight class back then too.
Fair. That's a good point. I'm seeing on the ranking Yaroslav Amosov. I've never heard of him. What do you guys know about him? He's 27-0.
He's their welterweight champion. Yeah.
Yeah. When they get certain people, like they do have some really talented people. It's just like the ones like who they are defending against just necessarily isn't at some of these levels that these champs are at is the problem. That's why you got people like Cyborg just fucking smashing cans,
Dude, I had no idea that Kat Zingano was like even a fighter still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane to me that they fought. I had no idea, dude.
Well, it wasn't much of a fight. She lost pretty bad. I don't even she just kind of fell over and like.
Yeah, she sprawled on her and then just ground and pounded her.
Yeah.
She went out pretty bad. Like it reminded me of when she lost to Rousey too, where it was just like out of nowhere. You're like, oh damn,
Dude, Rousey. Can you imagine
that.
people losing to Rousey now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if she would have kept her head in the right place, she'd be beating people in women's MMA still.
You think so?
Maybe not
Yeah, I think with the armbar specifically, like if not the whole game, but like if she was using her judo and her arm bars and certain people, I think she could get them pretty.
Oh.
if she would have rebounded and learned from both her losses and come back like stronger and evolved, then yeah. And if she would have continued to evolve in like a meaningful way, I just think she dominated people so bad that everyone bought into it. And
I think she just came in at the right time, fought a bunch of.
she came in early. She's an early adopter.
Yeah, but I think she got lucky that at the time women's MMA weren't as skilled. But you know, when she started getting into the girls that actually had skill, right? Holly Holm, and then I don't know who thought she could beat Amanda Nunes. She should fire her whole team for that. But even now, if you look at the top 10 of that division, I don't think she could hang.
Nah, she's definitely not coming back. She retired from WWE as well.
Well, no, there was talks of her coming back for 300. Like legitimately her coming back to fight MMA.
Versus who?
That's what I'm saying. Who? Nobody.
It'd probably be Misha Tate, if anyone. That'd probably be the only.
Didn't she whoop Misha Tate's ass already though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fair. That would make sense then.
That's why I think it's like at least like something she could go in the well for, and like has some type of
They should
familiarity.
do UFC 300. Ronda Rousey versus it's bantamweight. To do Ronda Rousey versus Juliana Pena for the vacant title.
Yeah, I think Rousey beats Pena, man.
You're crazy. You're smoking some shit.
I don't know, dude. Like, I think women's MMA is still in the early stages, and that there's gaps, dude.
What are you talking about? When you look at someone like Bullet, when you look at someone like Wei Lee,
Shevchenko, yeah, those people would beat the shit out of Rousey. But you don't think there's people in the top 10? Like if Ronda Rousey.
Okay, all right.
Let me pull up the rankings.
Let's pull up UFC rankings and let's see.
I'm gonna look at it right now.
Okay, me too.
Misha Tate is 12th still. Still, she's number 12. So you don't think?
That's a former champion.
Holly Holmes 5. So like,
I think she could probably beat Holly Holm now if she actually just did the judo.
You're crazy. You're crazy.
Dude, Holly Holm hasn't looked that great last couple fights.
So like Ronda Rousey versus Norma Dumont. You think Norma Dumont just beats the shit out of Rousey?
Dude, well, I think so.
I don't even know who Norma Dumont is.
How do you not know Norma Dumont, dude?
With all due respect, man.
Look at her record.
Okay. I don't know. I think it all depends on like Ronda Rousey's mental fortitude, and I'm not saying
it's pretty weak.
I mean, for sure. I'm not saying that in the sense that there's like mental health stuff or whatever. I'm not painting that type of picture. I'm painting the picture that she lost brutally twice and just hasn't bounced back. In a world where she bounces back from that, which is what I was saying before, and she was able to like somehow develop her skills a little more, she'd be competitive. Obviously, that never happened, and she would be entirely relying on judo.
Yeah, her biggest issue is she didn't go to a real gym. Her coach was just a boxing coach. And where's that guy? Because they had that one welterweight guy who was hyped up.
Yeah, Zabazian. Or
yeah,
he got front kicked by oh my god, by the guy that just fought Junior Dos Santos, right?
Oh,
you're talking about Travis Brown.
Oh yeah. Am I?
Yeah.
But he kicked.
That's Rousey's husband.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they had a newer welterweight dude. What, he was welterweight or what was the middleweight? He was that guy with the red hair.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Fabricio Verdum.
Yeah.
He kicked Rousey's coach when he fought Travis Brown. Like that happened, I want to say, right?
I don't think
That's
so.
not reference.
I don't remember that.
Fuck, dude.
All right, pull it up because I'm.
Let me see.
But yeah, I think that was her biggest issue is that she didn't go to a real gym.
Oh, dude, he kicks him. First thing that dude, I Google Verdum Rousey coach. Bleacher Report pulls up Fabricio Verdum kicks Travis Brown's coach in cage. It happened.
Okay.
Anyway, that we're diverting a little bit.
Yeah, but that guy's not involved in MMA or anything anymore.
Well,
He
yeah,
shouldn't be, and Rousey shouldn't come back.
because he tried and got exposed, and yeah, it's rough when
Send Rousey to American Top Team. They'll bring her up.
they're not gonna train her. They're loyal to Nunes.
Who retired?
Yeah, which is she was running from Pena and Kayla
Dude.
Harrison.
Do a Strickland and just sacrifice your ego and train with the people that whooped your ass and ultimately come out better, man.
Well, I was thinking her ego's too big.
Sure, I agree. It's part of the mental.
Yeah, that was something that was just she was on that Conor McGregor level, and then got exposed and was never able to come back.
I think Conor was more skilled. If you go like skill versus skill.
No, I'm talking about. Sorry, I'm talking about in terms of their celebrity.
How they kind of bought into the invincibility. Yeah, I got you.
No, just like they reached an audience outside of the MMA bubble.
Oh, yeah. I feel you.
Yeah, but
They
then
progressed the sport.
yeah, because it went from Dana White saying women will never fight in the UFC to them hooking up, and then she's in. But who knows? We'll see. UFC 300 coming up soon. Who would you guys like to see headline that card?
Oh, what's the timeline of it?
Probably like March or April.
March or April? Who do I want? God,
John Jones versus Brock Lesnar. No more USADA, baby. Imagine that shit.
Brock Lesnar. Oh my god.
so
John Jones for sure needs to be on that card if he wins against Stipe. You gotta defend the belt. I don't know who.
He's gonna retire after that fight.
I don't know. It might convince him one more hurrah, especially for 300. With the
Comes
money.
back, gets knocked out by Tom Aspinall.
Maybe that'd be the fight to make. Actually, Tom Aspinall versus him.
Tom Aspinall would be sick. That falls within the 6 months of USADA for McGregor, right? If it happens in April,
No,
because he's in now, that would be 6 months, wouldn't it?
would it be?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah.
Probably, right? That'd be cool.
Oh,
McGregor.
McGregor's on that card for sure. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, at this
because
point.
USADA's not going to matter.
At this point, yeah.
Ooh, does it have to be championship fights, or can it be just like dope ass matchups that we think would go crazy?
There has to be like every pay per view has to have a title fight on it.
Yeah. So if Volkanovski comes out of the fight with minimal damage, you have Volk on the card because that turnaround just makes a lot of sense. Maybe have him versus Topuria.
Okay.
Do something like that. I think you want Volkanovski on it. I think Strickland versus just about anybody would make a lot of sense, just given the time frame. I think it could pan out with multiple championship fights, honestly.
Yeah. Well, they try to do 3. Because remember the UFC 200, they did like 3, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you run back the.
I think the Jones one had to be fucking kind of tossed up, but
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see who's going to be around. Colby Covington headlines.
who would he fight though?
Ooh.
Masvidal?
No, Masvidal's not coming back.
He might for a paycheck, even if he gets his ass kicked.
That's embarrassing. I hope he doesn't. Colby, or okay, by then the Bellator deal's done, right? So let's unify the middleweight titles. Johnny Eblen versus Strickland, which they've sparred before. He's talked about how he's trained with Strickland before.
I would. You gotta think Strickland gets the better of it.
Hey, he didn't say it, but he alluded to that. He and it's training, so it's different, whatever. But I think Johnny could beat Strickland.
Yeah.
But things are, there's so much in the air, but we're so close too. It's like, damn, I'm just so curious to see how it's going to play out, because obviously that's like a really huge card, a big milestone.
Yeah, dude, it's just the sport's so unpredictable and that's so far away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know how we can even reasonably, like, other than McGregor, and mainly because the 6 months testing thing, I feel that's within the realm of possibility, him and Chandler, but you probably got to have a title fight over them.
100%.
And we have to see how certain things shake out,
Yeah. So maybe the vacant heavyweight title, because of
so say Colby Covington, in between then and now, beats Leon Edwards. Finally see Bilal Muhammad, Colby Covington grudge match. That'd be kind of dope. Even though Muhammad doesn't have that much of a name, Colby Covington, I think, could really sell it. Did they put a time frame on Wonderboy versus Shavkat?
Yes, I'm happy you brought that up, because that card is like welterweights on welterweights.
Dude, how hard is Wonderboy for taking that fight?
He's annoying, if I'm being honest.
That's crazy, dude.
He's annoying.
So nice.
You think he's really like that behind the scenes? I bet it's all an act.
Nah, he seems like a Ned Flanders, to be honest, to me. Like, he seems like just a very genuine guy, but just like to a fault.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What card is that?
Annoying.
Okay, he's fighting on. The Edwards versus Covington card. So obviously, like, there's the welterweight title fight, and then there's Shavkat versus Stephen Thompson, and then there's the Vicente Luque versus Ian Gary fight, which is a crazy fight. But I think Ian Gary's gonna get that one.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Randy Rude Boy Brown back on the card. He's fighting Muslim Salikov.
Sure.
But that's going to be a really fun card. But Colby washes all those welterweights, beats Ian Gary, which in that submission radio interview, bringing it all the way back to that, they had asked him, like, hey, Ian Gary's been talking trash about you. It's going to be fun to see you guys in the same building. And Colby's like, I don't even know who that is. He's just like,
yeah, he smokes Ian Gary.
He beats everybody. He beats Wonderboy, beats Shavkat, beats Randy Rude Boy Brown, beats Luque.
I don't know about Shavkat.
Dude, don't disrespect. Don't disrespect the greatest champion that the UFC's ever known.
Except he's lost every title fight he's been in.
The only reason why Leon Edwards was able to beat Usman was because of what Colby Covington did to Usman. That's the truth. Usman was never the same after Colby beat him. First fight was controversial. He was still able to continue. Second fight, Usman, got lucky, and we see where they're at now, right? You think about Usman. Usman's in a whole different division. He got ran out. Colby Covington scared off Usman and Cumshot. Think about that.
And he called him Cumshot.
Think about that. They didn't want the smoke with the greatest welterweight champion.
The first time I heard him refer to Khamzat as Cumshot, set me into another dimension.
Yeah. He's amazing.
That was unbelievable.
Whenever Colby is on the mic, it's just hilarious. He's the funniest shit to say.
Yeah, he's brutal, dude.
Marty Fake Snoozman. Oh my god, he's so great. I could go on for days about how much I love Colby Covington.
Yeah. See how if it makes it to the Edwards fight. Want to see that fight. See how he does.
I honestly think he beats Edwards, man, because Edwards is good, but it's just man, he's been out for so long, and I don't know why.
He does that a lot though. Like he's fucking like always kind of out there.
Yeah, but they offered him fights, and he turned it down. It's not like he was injured.
Yeah, I don't get why we went over it earlier, but champs that turn down fights or don't fight consistently after they get the belts, just like, come on. Even Islam, it's like, dude, you shouldn't have taken this long to fight again. So
Well,
it just doesn't make sense. Just
I think with Islam, they wanted to save him for. I think Islam,
yeah, it's
Kamzat,
for Abu Dhabi.
they wanted to save these fighters for this card because I think they've been wanting to fight, but I think UFC's like, hey, we got these people we gotta please, and you're our ticket to that.
Yeah.
Like Dana White was so pissed that Oliveira's camp announced the pullout because Dana White wanted to let the powers. This is what Dana White said. He said, "I wanted to let the powers that be know before we announced it," but he's like, the Oliveira's camp can't keep their mouth shut. He was so salty about it.
Yeah. Which I get it, you know, you want to make sure everything's all sorted out so people aren't fucking in a frenzy, but
It worked out. Volkanovski's a way better fight.
All right. Well, we're just about 2 weeks away, and it's going to be amazing. We'll return after that card and see how the whole world is shaken up, because by then, so many things will have happened, and I'm excited, and I can't wait for it all to happen. I appreciate both of your time today. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Jeff, for doing this. But before we go, is there anything else you guys would like to say?
I would just like to comment that MMA is so fucking exciting right now. Like, it's always pretty exciting, but right now particularly, there's just so much cool shit happening. It's a great sport.
Yeah. I'm saying just be safe out there. It's a crazy world.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll be back soon. Goodbye.